Pub Sports Radio is very excited to announce the dates for Pubba Palooza 4. The most exciting weekend of the gambling year. Round 1 of March Madness. It's all going down in San Antonio, Texas at the Southtown 101, Thursday the 20th till Sunday the 23rd. It's going down, baby.
Scheduled events every day that weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's all going down in Southtown 101. Come hang out with some of your favorite Pub Sports Radio personalities.
Oof, I can't wait. Meet us in Texas, baby. It's going.
Wide open Torrence! Oh, baby! Touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cat!
You're proud of me? And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to Bankroll Blitz. Welcome to Week 16 breakdowns right here on Pub. God, what's that? Too much work all day, man. This 16 game card, all of the injuries were painstaking trying to follow along. Welcome to Bankroll Blitz on Pub Sports Radio, alongside my co-host, Mr. Troy Torrence. Troy, how are you, my man?
I'm doing a lot better after last week. I feel like this is probably the most proud season I've had in my entire career, being down 30 units, grinding it out. Hey, we're getting so much closing line value, Jim. I mean, we're doing the right things. Like, we keep doing this, we're going to keep moving up the ranks. Let's stay hot.
Let's stay hot. You are coming off a monster week. Let's do a quick review. But first, shout out to all the cappers joining us. We've got WT in the house coming to us from Costa Rica. Nick ready to get to work. The nuke worker, fresh off board sweepage last night on our NFL live stream. 5 bets. Went 5 for 5. He had a plus 350, plus 250, a plus 220. They cashing them all. What a monster. The nuke worker in the house. Gerald Jones, Moneyball, Coin, T. Moss ready to go. We have Mel. All of you guys, it is wonderful to see you. Jermaine D. Jenkins, thank you guys for joining us. Let's talk about the week that was. Troy coming off a monster week, 14-6, plus 7.02 units. And it started poorly, and I didn't help because I was heavy on the Niners. Niners minus 2.5, Niners money line. San Francisco plus 4.5 with Philadelphia. Loss. And then you got hot. You had 5 double results last week, and you went 5-0 on them. Commanders double result, Bengals double result, Eagles double result was cash. Eagles minus 5, Eagles minus 5.5. Then your parlays tied to the Eagles with Washington cashed, with Cincinnati cashed, with Atlanta cashed. Those were all money line. Then we fell off on Lions, money line, Lions minus 2, and Detroit Buffalo under 54.5. And then you got very hot to close out the cards. Packers minus 0.5, Vikings, sorry, I'm not sure if I wrote that in right, but
Vikes.
Yeah, Packers, Vikings double, Falcons minus 4, and then everything you tied to the Falcons: Atlanta, Washington, and Atlanta, Minnesota.
It's funny, Jimmy. It's funny because on Sunday morning, usually I have all of this like pent up energy, I talk about going and playing blackjack just to blow off some steam. That's real talk. This weekend, I had the false sense of security with the money lines, with the double results, and they all came through. So it's a beautiful thing.
It was excellent work. I was in rough shape until last night. Last night was crucial for me because I went into last night 4-6. I closed the weekend 7-6. I lost San Francisco minus 2.5 to start the week. Cashed the under 49 in Rams, San Francisco. That was just, 12-6, no touchdowns. Atlanta minus 4.5, Atlanta double result. Those were our most confident spots. We cashed them both. Washington double result. That became very uncomfortable at the end of the game. And then my loss, so there's 4-1 at that point. I lost Baltimore, New York Giants under 44, lost Carolina minus 2.5, lost New York Jets, Jacksonville under 40.5, and lost Buffalo, Detroit under 54.5. I lost all 4 of those horribly. But the Eagles double result, Minnesota, Atlanta parlay, and then cash, and then Detroit I lost on the money line, And that was minus 136. That was expensive. And Green Bay, Seattle cashing under 48 gives me 7-6 plus 0.1 units. I'm ready to attack. Sammy Culmer, great to see you. Dougie Wise in the house. Spenny Penny Bombs. Robert Martin. Man Bear Pig. North Ender. Dougie Wise. Thank you guys all for joining us. Let's get to work, my friend. Are you ready to rock?
Let's do it.
Let's attack. We start on Thursday night, Thursday, December 19th, the 8:15 p.m. Eastern start. Denver Broncos 9-5, 4-3 on the road. The LA Chargers 8-6, 4-3 at home. We're at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Let's get into the line history here right off the hop. We've seen them move all day today towards the Denver Broncos. It's a 2.5. A lot of books are hanging. The Broncos minus 2.5, minus 105. Chargers minus 2.5, minus 115. If we're looking at the 3, which is what it opened at the 3, this opened 2 nights ago at 8 p.m. Eastern, there's been 15 cents of movement towards the Denver Broncos. Plus 3 at minus 106, up to plus 3 right now at minus 121. When I saw the 3, I just thought, wow, the whole world's going to be on Denver here. Now, the markets have shown some concern. I am very interested in the under in this football game. We've seen it do interesting things since it opened up. The first move was towards the over. That was just within the first 7 or 8 hours. It moved 5 cents to the over. Then there was a legit move to the under. The under got up to minus 110. That over was now over 42 was now minus 105. Then it back to the over this afternoon. So overall, we've had no movement now. Zero movement, not a cent from the opening line. 76% of tickets, 72% of cash is on the Broncos on the spread. 29% of tickets and 42% of cash is on the Broncos money line. And then 92% of the tickets and 93% of the cash is on the over. Let's roll. Ziggy Balls in the house. We got Birdie rocking with us. Jared TG. Great to see all of you guys. D Jenkins. Let's get to work. Mac Beavers in the house. Let's start with the Denver Broncos. Passing offense, just 23rd yards wise, 202.7 per game, and rushing offense, 20th, 108.4. Their red zone offense, 10th. They score touchdowns 58.7% of the time. It's a bright spot for them. And third down offense, middling, 16th at 37.7%. Mac Beaver Surtain is not out. Surtain is going to be good to go. I think that's probably part of the reason why we've had this market move. But we'll get into injuries. I spent hours and hours and hours going over injury reports. Passing defense, 16th. They allowed 216.7 yards per game. Their rush defense has been strong all year, 5th, allowing 98.6 yards. Their red zone defense has been so good all year. We have the 2 best red zone defenses in the league playing each other on Thursday night. On a short week, it makes the under appealing. It really does. Red zone defense, 2nd for the Broncos. Third down defense, 11th in the league, allowing conversion 36.6% of the time. They're coming off a 31-13 victory at home over the Colts. I had friends on the Colts. I know Truth Teller was on the Colts. He must have lost his mind. What do you do when you have money on a side? You're up 13. Well, it was 13-7 at the time. Your star running back runs 42 yards into the end zone and lets go of the ball a millisecond before he crosses the line. It's got to be one of the sickest feelings that you can have in gambling. The Broncos won 31-13, but they were outgained by the Colts 310-193. The Broncos offense managed 3.2 yards per play and put up 31 points. So the Jonathan Taylor miscue, when we saw Dubs have a similar miscue, and we'll talk about this in the Colts game. Dubs, excuse me. When we saw Chuba Hubbard have a similar miscue, fumble in overtime, sit with that all week, he exploded against the very tough Eagles run defense. I expect Jonathan Taylor to do the same, but we'll get into that later. Then Nick Benito foiled the trick play. That trick play looked horrific. It was so choreographed. It was so set up. It was so blatant what was going on. And Nick Benito stole the ball, ran 50 yards for a touchdown. And then it was just over. We didn't see any heart from the Colts, but that's for a different game. Bo Nix was 20-33 for just 130 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. Cortland Sutton led receivers with just 3 catches for 32 yards touchdown. They didn't get anything from their run game, which they haven't been lately. Bo Nix led the ground game with 8 carries for 23 yards. Jaleel McLaughlin, Javonte Williams, and Oric Estime combined for 18 carries for 49 yards. Then McLaughlin left the game in the third quarter with a thigh injury. He's listed as questionable this week. It's a short week. Will he be able to play? Broncos were 2 for 2 in the red zone. Their defense was strong. They held the Colts to 6-19 on 3rd and 4th down and 0-1 in the red zone. Pass rush had 2 sacks and 10 quarterback hits. So Surtain and Brandon Jones had interceptions. Surtain suffered a mild sprained ankle in the game, and he's not on the injury report, and he was a full participant at practice. So that is part of the line move here. And then DJ Jones dealing with a finger injury, defensive tackle. He's listed as questionable. So that is the Broncos side. And then, of course, you have a rookie quarterback on a short week on the road against a good defense. How does that not make you want to back the Chargers here? Let's discuss these Chargers. Passing offense, 25th in the league, 196.4 yards per game. Their rushing offense, 22nd, 105.8. Now, we've seen this rushing offense look horrific with J.K. Dobbins not in the lineup. And we'll talk about Gus and what we've seen from this squad, because Kamani Vidal didn't look very good either. I mean, Gus Edwards and Kamani Vidal combined for 11 carries for 32 yards. That's all they did last game. And it was the worst loss in Jim Harbaugh's first year as a coach. Their red zone offense, 16th, third down offense, 20th. Passing defense, 10th. They allowed 211.6 yards per game. Rushing defense, 19th, allowing 125.1. As I said, best red zone defense in the league, allowing touchdowns 40% of the time. And the 12th best third down defense at 37%. The Chargers coming off an ugly 40-17 loss at home to the Buccaneers. They're still in the playoff spot, but they've now lost 3 of 4. They were outgained 506-206. They were outscored 27-0 in the second half. They just let go. They stopped trying. I don't know exactly what to make of that still. Herbert, 21-33 for 195 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He was picked off for the first time, Troy, since week 2. That's how good he's been. That snapped a streak of 357 attempts without a pick. That's the 5th longest streak in league history. Ladd McConkey battled the injury, returned, led receivers 5 catches, 58 yards, touchdown. The offense looked awful. 0 of 8 on 3rd and 4th down. They did, however, go 2 of 3 in the red zone, which helped them hold the lead going into halftime, but the defense struggled mightily. Bucks put up 7.6 yards per play. Bucks went 10 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down, which helped the Bucks dominate time of possession, 36-48 to 23-12. The only positive was that they held the Bucks to 1 of 4 in the red zone, where they're excellent. The pass rush was very quiet. 1 sack, 2 Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack combined for 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits. And Tarheeb Still, that 5th-round pick out of Maryland, continues to look excellent. Another interception, an impressive rookie season. Cornerback Cam Hart suffered a concussion in the second quarter, didn't return. He's in protocol, so he's not going to get out of protocol by Thursday. Will Dissly was injured week 14 against the Chiefs. He missed this past week. He's still viewed as week to week. So with Dissly out, Stone Smart played 67% of the offensive snaps and looked good. 5 catches for 50 yards on 6 targets, but he also lost a fumble. This is a fascinating Thursday nighter. And to add to it, Troy, as you know, my pops has sent in $300 on the Broncos. $300 on the Broncos. He's now lost 3 straight $300 bets with me. And now it seems like it's a possible sharp side, but the deeper I thought about the psychological decision-making that he has is that he just cashed $700. He had a $700 bet on the Buccaneers over the Chargers. Cashed it easily. That was in Vegas. Now he's back home. He just thinks that the Chargers are weaker than the sum of their parts, which I don't believe they are. And I think that he is just comfortable off the casher and backing it again. I've not sent it in. Take it away for us, Troy, our Thursday nighter Broncos Chargers.
I really struggled with this game at first because you could find a lot of support for both sides where the market currently sits in this game. Now, there is one trend where the home favorite drops from 3 to 2 that I'm putting a little bit of equity in because you look at the sample, it's right around this time of the year. It's an extremely hot team, probably an overpriced team, overvalued like the Broncos. I mean, the one thing that sticks out to me in this matchup, you covered a lot of what I wanted to say. I'm starting to X things off as you're going because you hammered this one. There's one thing that sticks out to me like a sore thumb in this game, and I used to harp on the Chargers for the same exact reason until they went through the gauntlet. Well, guess what? Here comes the gauntlet for the Broncos because what they got coming down the stretch, the Bengals, the Chargers, and the Chiefs, they could very easily lose all 3 of those games. If you look at who they played this season, I mean, this has been the weakest strength of schedule in the entire NFL this season. And you just go through each and every game that they've played in the past 2 games specifically. The Colts and the Browns, they could have lost, probably arguably should have lost both those games. especially if you had competent quarterback play in the Browns game. They definitely win that game. The Raiders, the Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints, the Jets. I mean, this team has had a cakewalk schedule so far this season. I don't think that this next game is going to be a cakewalk because the Chargers are coming out with absolute desperation. The Broncos have been at home for how long over the past few weeks? They're teetering on a loss. I love fading teams that have been teetering on a loss. I was fading the Chargers a few weeks ago, and I've been paid off for it. I think it's time to get on the Chargers. I didn't get on them last week. I'm glad I did not back the Chargers last week, and there's reasons for that. But I think there's reasons to move on them this week. I think versus a solid defense, this is where you're going to see a rookie quarterback on the road in primetime struggle. And, I mean, what about last game? They got outgained by 1.1 yards per play. I mean, their yards per play numbers have been dropping off the charts. They're incredibly lucky to have won that game. It's just a perfect situation. And I talked about earlier, home teams that open 3, close at 2.5 with a total less than 47 or 4-1 ATS and straight up. And all those games come after week 10. And you know, like there's other samples that I choose to omit. And there's not a lot that I'm going to talk about from the database in this game because there are some angles that you could say the Broncos are the right side. But there's one sample where I incorporated PFF grades, but all the entire sample, even though it favored the Chargers, I threw it away because it was all week 1 through 6, like almost everything in the sample. But I mean, and I agree with you, Jim. I think the under is the right play. If my expectation is for the Chargers to lead in this matchup, I think it's going to be a closely contested game, one score. You see a lot of 6, 7, 8-point finishes in this sample. And, the Chargers are a team that slow down significantly when they have the lead. It made me want the Broncos team total under. I didn't know exactly how to play this spot, so I just left it at Chargers minus 2.5 for right now. But I'm definitely interested in under in some way, shape, or form.
So am I. I wanted to see what happened today in the market. And the only thing I think we can bank upon is that it didn't move up to 42.5 when it looked like, it might, despite 92% of the tickets, 93% of cash. In the same way,
one of those ranges. I mean, this is like the 4.5 to 5.5 range, 41.5, 42.5, up to 43. That would be concerning.
But that brings me comfort in moving on the under, and I may do that tonight after the show. I expect to do that. How does the database feel about the half-point move from +3 to +2.5 for the road team being the Broncos?
You could argue this because there's a lot of samples that are 50-50. Some of them lean Broncos, some of them lean Chargers. But the best segment that I found that matches this game is when home teams open 3, they close 2.5, and with a low total though, because there's a huge split where there's a ton of games half of the games with a low total, half the game with the high total, and it completely flips the expectation. The lower total, a total less than 47, 4-1 ATS and straight up for the home team. I also, with the total too, with home teams that open and close between 2.5 and 3, with a total between 41.5 and 42.5, kind of dead numbers between 41 and 43, 8-0 to the under. And the Chargers also 5-3 in that sample ATS for the home team.
So have you moved on the 2.5?
I have moved on the 2.5. I bet it as soon as I seen it drop down to 2.5 this morning. I was kind of waiting on it.
Mel says as long as Surtain is in, Broncos +6.5 in the under, 49.5. Ziggy Ball's also liking the under. Brady says, why not?
What about the backup? What about Moss? I mean, he's out, right?
Yes. At this point, I'll pull back up the.
Their defense has taken massive steps back since he's been out, especially their pass defense. And they haven't faced a quality quarterback. I mean, the quality quarterbacks they faced, the Broncos lost, and their defense looks subpar.
Yeah, there's no expectation at all that Riley Moss will be playing here on Thursday. None. So he's expected to be out as well. It's a lot to think about. And then Birdie says, why not just tease the shit out of this game? I'm interested for your season to be over and to go over your teasers. Because, again, there has been no worse angle on NFL Pub than teasers over the 4 seasons. And it's alarming how bad our colleagues have done on teasers here.
Early in the season, you couldn't tease a favorite and get it right. Now, later in the season, if you've been teasing favorites, you've been cashing especially, between weeks like 11 and 15, past 4 weeks.
And you talked about that last year as well. Chargers minus 2.5. What juice did you get?
Minus 115. And I also did I have a 2-team parlay with the Ravens money line and the Chargers plus 3.5. Because in all the samples that I did play with, getting a 3.5, teasing the 2.5 to 3.5, there's a lot of value in that, because there's a lot of circumstances where when the home team loses this game, it's by a field goal or less.
Well, I'm interested in the under 42 here. Birdie really liking your Ravens money line, Chargers plus 3.5. What was the juice on that one?
Minus 118. So right in that teaser range. I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, I document that in my when I log my plays. That's a teaser. Even though I'm not, I'm taking, when I did bet it, I took an alt line, or I took the money line and an alt line for the Chargers.
That is our Thursday nighter. Obviously, more work to do. I expect to be on the under. I haven't sent in the action for my pops on the Broncos, and now that it's at 2.5, I'm not going to send it in. So I basically have bet them. The question then is, whether or not I actually do bet them or make it official here. Mel says 80% orange in the crowd. We also, just a final thought about the road games. They haven't played a real road game since that loss at the Chiefs, that they deserve to win, which was on the heels of that loss to the Ravens, because they played in Vegas and there was a ton of Broncos fans. Now they play in LA. There's going to be a ton of Broncos fans. Won't be quite as many in Cincinnati next week.
Yeah, and that loss, that near win that they should have had in Kansas City.
Yeah,
I mean, that looks a lot weaker now, after watching what the Chiefs have been on this season.
Well, we roll on. Agreed, Mel. This won't feel like a road game at all. We roll on Troy on the Chargers minus 2.5, Ravens money line, Chargers plus 3.5. I expect to be on the under 42 this evening.
I mean, it takes him out of Denver, where he's been for over a month at this point. That's a change of scenery for a rookie. And
the other part of this as well is that I also kind of like the first half under better than the full game under. In the end, I may double down on this under, but I haven't bet it yet, so I don't have that conviction. So, but that's been going through my head all day. Is I kind of like the first half better than the full game. All right, let's roll on. We move on to Saturday, December 21st, 1 p.m. Eastern, with the Houston Texans 9-5, 4-3 on the road. The Kansas City Chiefs 13-1, 7-0 home. Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. 33 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 2 miles per hour. It is very cold on Saturday and Sunday. East Rutherford being the coldest game on the board. Now, it's very cold, but there's no wind and there's almost no rain. There looks like a couple spots where there may be snow showers. Here we go. 33 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 2 miles per hour. We'll start with the line history here for this one. Start with this total. This total right now is at 41 flat. It opened up at 40. Now, the look ahead was 44.5. But, of course, that was before Patrick Mahomes' high ankle sprain. This opened up at 40. It's moved a point to 41. Mahomes says that he wants to be out there, and he will be out there if he can. But I certainly don't expect him to be pushed out there. We have right now the Chiefs opening up at +2, and then moving to -2.5, a 4.5 point swing. Very interesting. So, I would like to take a look at a couple other books here as well on this swing, because that's obviously the big swing. Let's take a look at where we used to do all of our poker tournaments here. They opened it up with the Chiefs -4, and just like the book we were just talking about, moved it to the Chiefs +2 and the Chiefs +3. The Chiefs were +3 until 2 o'clock today, and I guess that's when it came out that Mahomes may play. There was a 4.5 point move towards the Chiefs. The Chiefs are also -2.5 there, so same deal. Let's get into the cash flow here for this one. We have 31% of tickets and 25% of the cash on the spread on the Texans, 29% of tickets, 28% of cash on the money line on the Texans. And then the total has 85% of tickets and 88% of cash on the over. Texans passing offense 19th in the league, 212.8 yards per game. It's looked very weak lately. The whole offense has looked weak. Rushing offense 17th, running for 111.4 yards per game. I mean, they just put up 181 in their 2012 victory at home over the Dolphins. Red zone offense 18th, third down offense 19th. It doesn't look good. Their red zone defense being a problem all year long. 28th in the league, allowing touchdown 64.7% of the time, but every other angle is very good. Passing defense, rush defense, third down defense, fourth in the league. Texans coming off that 2012 victory home over the Dolphins. The defense led them to victory. They were outgained 224 to 181. CJ Stroud 18 and 26 for 131 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He also lost a fumble. Joe Mixon ran 12 times for just 23 yards. He led receivers with 5 catches for 33. Nico Collins caught 4 passes for just 17 yards. Now 2 of them were touchdowns. Texans were just 5 of 13 on third down, but they did go 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense was excellent. Held the Dolphins to just 3.6 yards per play and 4-13 on third down. The pass rush had 3 sacks, but it was Derek Stingley. Good God, was he phenomenal. I mean, you hold Tyreek to 2 catches for 36 yards, and you also get 2 interceptions. I mean, he had as many catches as Tyreek Hill. I mean, he was just phenomenal. Kalen Bullock also had an interception. It's by far the best the secondary's looked since losing Jalen Petrie for the season. Tight end Cade Stover missed the game after having an emergency appendectomy Saturday night, and Foley Fatukasi injured his ankle in the second quarter, didn't return. He's listed as questionable this week. They have a ton of depth at the on the pass rush, but they would like to have him there. Talk about the Chiefs passing offense 13th, 224.1, rushing offense 16th, 112.1, red zone offense 26th in the league. It's been a problem all year long. It was a problem again, against the Browns. I mean, it's just they're not scoring in the red zone. Third down offense best in the league at 50.8%. Passing defense 14th, rush defense 3rd. They only allow 91.9 yards per game. Red zone defense 12th, being strong all year, and third down defense 19th. All of their defensive numbers have been getting weaker as the season has gone on, and this will be the Chiefs' second of 3 games in 11 days. There's no way that Mahomes plays, but market seems to think, and he claims that he wants to get out there. Chiefs coming off a 21-7 victory at Cleveland, of course, overshadowed by a high ankle sprain suffered by Mahomes. 10 wins by 7 points or less. 6 have come on the game's final play. Mahomes was 19 of 38 for 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks before being replaced by Carson Wentz. The x-rays were negative, and he says that he would have lobbied harder to stay in the game had the Browns gotten within 1 score. He practiced today, or attempted to practice today. Worthy led receivers with 6 catches for 46 yards, also ran 3 times for 30 yards and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco combined for 77 yards on 26 carries, 2 catches for 19 yards, just 7 of 18 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. They held the Browns to just 266 yards, 4 of 12 on third down. They didn't allow the Browns to run a play in the red zone. The pass rush was dynamic. 5 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, got interceptions from Hicks, Cook, Bolton, and McDuffie. Connor suffered a concussion while making a tackle in the second quarter. He's in concussion protocol. And Hollywood Brown had his practice window opened up last week. So Hollywood Brown should be out there. DJ Humphries missed the game with a hamstring injury. He's listed as questionable this week. Take it away for us here, Troy. The Chiefs, maybe without Mahomes, at home against the Texans.
This was a really annoying game for me when I first started capping it, because everything I was looking at, it was like, I think Mahomes is going to play. And the line was at +2.5, +2, whatever it was. And I was like, this is kind of pointless breaking down this number. What is it going to be when Mahomes is announced in? Because if you look historically, this man is a warrior. I mean, he plays. Whatever he did to his kneecap a few years back, and he's back within just a few weeks, definitely beating any type of time frame that a doctor's given him. Like, this guy's a warrior, and it's not like you got to give him a lot of credit. I mean, he plays through injury. We've seen it before in the playoffs. I don't hate Mahomes. I hate the treatment the Chiefs get. Like, I talk about Mahomes being the GOAT because of the trajectory he's on. If he maintains this trajectory, he's going to outpace, Tom Brady. But it's a very similar matchup. Like, I feel like we see 2 quality defenses with 2 offenses performing below expectations. Very, very similar story. Offensive line, issues on both sides. Texans have the issues that the Chiefs got. Both teams have a good pass rush, but if you have a limited quarterback with Mahomes, I feel like he's going to be much more vulnerable to that pass rush. A QB, both QBs who may have enjoyed too much glory in the offseason. Both guys, right? Highly touted. And obviously Mahomes just continues to win games on the stretch. So you got to take his numbers with a grain of salt, but they're the worst of his career by far. It's the worst offense we've ever seen in KC. Both teams are running offense that is not threatening versus good defenses. And offensively, I think both schemes are fundamentally flawed. I think you're seeing a little bit of stagnation in Andy Reid and what the Chiefs are doing. Now that maybe they're not adjusting their personnel, it's really hard to put your finger on. Actually, it's hard to put your finger on what both problems are. So you got to look towards the scheme for both these teams because of the performance level we expect versus what they're actually putting out there on a weekly basis. I immediately wanted the under in this matchup, but with Mahomes in, I mean, we're going to get a better number. Definitely 41 is a key number. We're looking right around there right now. I think it goes up a little bit higher once he's fully announced in. If I had to pick a side, I'll be waiting for Mahomes to get announced in, and I'm taking Houston. We're going to be looking at Chiefs as a favorite under 3 points. The public and sharps alike are going to be licking their paws, licking their chops to get some KC in their accounts. And I'll probably be on the Texans. And you look when home teams flip from dog to favorite per Pinnacle lines. I know this is a QB announcement and that's not always the case in the samples. Take it with a grain of salt as well. But when that happens, the road team 6-3 ATS when it's not in division. Division is that toggle I turn on and off with line flipping. Any type of flipping. You want to look at divisional or non-divisional. Divisional line movement, very accurate. Non-divisional line movement through the zero, anything but. So 6-3 ATS for the road team. But when you look at when it's a low total below 44, the road team is undefeated straight up in ATS 5-0. So. I'm looking towards the Texans only.
I want Mahomes to be announced in to bet the under. I don't think I want. I mean, what's you think the Texans are going to be able to put up points in 33 Fahrenheit weather against the Chiefs defense?
I remember watching him. Looks competent at least last year in the playoffs in Baltimore.
It's not CJ. It's the offense as a whole.
Yeah.
I get it. In fact, if Mahomes was announced out, I would honestly have interest in the Chiefs at the new number as a dog. Just because I don't nothing I've seen from the Texans offense over the last few weeks makes me think that they're going to be able to deliver. The under is the bet with Mahomes at quarterback, with Wentz at quarterback. The under is the bet, but this will continue to climb if Mahomes is announced in. So I understand why we haven't bet it yet.
Yeah,
but
I'll be there with you, Jim. I'll be there with you. Let's keep our eye on the under. I think you're right. I think if you like the Texans, you filter it down when the under trend gets better. If the road team is cashing, the road team's winning and covering, the under becomes a more profitable result or expectation.
I'm going to try to time this right. And also, if it's Carson Wentz at quarterback and the Chiefs are a dog, I'm going to have enormous interest in them because I'm going to challenge the Texans to deliver offensively in 33 Fahrenheit against this Chiefs defense. So there's nothing in me wants to take. Now, I could understand the Texans as a dog, with Mahomes announced in and the public, moving on the Chiefs or whatever, then I can understand why someone would do that. But not from what I'm watching. They're struggling enormously here. So interesting. A fascinating game. So let's roll on. On. Gerald Jones says under City Wager Detective says no way Mahomes plays. Mel says, Jimmy, assuming Mahomes is healthy, my bet Chiefs to win 1-6 at plus 330. It's been very good there. I get that. Coin says Mahomes plays Sunday without doubt. So people on either side there. Going to be a lot of questions left to be answered, but we're going to be moving on this game, but nothing officially at this point, right, Troy?
Nothing.
Okay, but I'm going to be moving on this game for sure.
So am I. I'm going to have action on that game, and right now it's looking like the under, and I'm wondering to myself right now, is it going to get to 43? That's the only point to wait. If it's not going to get to 43, it's not even worth waiting. I don't know if it will.
That's fair. It's just whenever I see a total climbing, there's one book that has it moved it to 42? There's one book that moved it to 42 58 minutes ago. So this and this also was at 39.5 at 9:41 this morning. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait here a little bit higher. Okay, let's roll on. Next spot on the board, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. The Pittsburgh Steelers 10-4, 5-3 on the road. The Baltimore Ravens 9-5, 4-2 at home. M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. 36 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 mile per hour winds. Shout out to 2-3 in the house. Great to see you. Let's get into the line history here for this Steelers Ravens spot. First off, we'll go with the total. You see 44.5 market wide. I'm looking at a 45 right now, but it's minus 116 to the under. This opened up at 46, juice to the over. So we have a legitimate move to the under, which makes sense to me. On the point spread here, we have the Ravens at 6. 6 is market wide. I'm looking at 6.5, but this 6.5 opened up with Pittsburgh minus 109. Now they're minus 117. But this had not moved until about 4:38, exactly 4:38 p.m. Today. Let's get into the cash flow here for the Saturday night game. We have 60% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have 30% of the tickets and 65% of the cash on the under. Spenny Pennybomb says the points with Pittsburgh. There were a lot of people who wanted the points with Pittsburgh. There was 3 different cappers on NFL Pubba who had the points with Pittsburgh. But you and Razor Sharp Picks were bullish on the Philadelphia Eagles, and you were richly rewarded for it. Let's get into this one. M&T Bank Stadium. We'll start with the Steelers. Their passing offense, 24th, 198.9. Rushing offense, 10th, 126.6 yards per game. Red zone offense, second worst in the league, 45.8%. That's not being... it's not getting any better, especially with Pickens not in the lineup. Third down offense, 13th, 39%. Passing defense, 22nd, 22.3 yards per game. Their rush defense, 4th, 94.4 yards per game. Their red zone defense, 14th, 53.2% of the time they allow touchdowns. Their third down defense is 7th in the league, allowing conversions 35.1% of the time. They come in off an ugly 27-13 loss at Philadelphia. The Steelers haven't won at Philadelphia since October 24th, 1965. They're all gained 401 to 163. Russell Wilson, 14 of 22 for 128 yards, 1 touchdown. He also lost a fumble. Ground game was completely neutralized by the Eagles. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren combined for 10 carries for 26 yards. Pickens missed his second straight game with a hamstring injury. Calvin Austin led receivers with 5 catches for 65 yards. It was clear that they missed him. He leads the team with receptions of 55 and yards 850. Leads both stats by wide margins. The Steelers had just 10 first downs all game and finished 3 of 10 on third down. The Steelers defense couldn't get the Eagles off the field. The Eagles went 11 of 18 on third and fourth down. The Eagles dominated time of possession, 39-52 to 20-08. And the Eagles had 6 red zone trips compared to just 2 for the Steelers. It was just domination. The pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. 2 of those sacks came from TJ Watt, who left the game with an ankle injury. So he leads the Steelers with 11.5 sacks. And this is a wait and see mode. That's what he said. He's in wait and see mode for this game against Baltimore. Quarterback Dante Jackson sustained a back injury. Justin Fields had an abdominal injury. Both listed as questionable this week. Let's talk about the Ravens. Passing offense, 3rd, 245.6 yards per game. Rushing offense, 2nd, 178.4. Red zone offense, 1st. Third down offense, 2nd. What a football team. Now, it's the defense that's the problem. We know it's not their rush defense. They only allow 80.7 yards per game. Nobody allows less. But the pass defense allowing 258.9 yards per game. That's 31st. And we have the rush defense, as I said, red zone defense, 16th, 55.8%. And third down defense, 23rd here. My man Lil Domo in the house. Shout out to Lil Domo and Chill Will. Yes, D Jenkins, Penix. We were waiting for that because we knew that Raheem was not backing Kirk Cousins. So that's very important information. Thank you, D Jenkins. Okay, let's get into this here. The Ravens coming off an easy 35-14 victory of the Giants. We don't need to talk too much about the game. They outgained the Giants 445 to 236. Lamar Jackson got whatever he wanted, 21-25, 290 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. He also ran 6 times for 65 yards. Did lose a fumble. Rashard Bateman caught 3 for 80 and 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry ran 14 for 67. They went 9 of 11 on third down. The defense held the Giants to 2 of 12 on third down. We don't need to get into it. But began the stretch of 3 games in 11 days. Same thing that the Chiefs are going through right now. So, Troy, you sent me a look, and I agreed with it fully. and it was you who sent it to me. So why don't you break down the money line parlay that we are both on, and any added action that you have in Steelers Ravens? Take it away.
Right now, this is my biggest bet of the week, and it always, I was very hesitant to do it because I just faded this team with a max bet, my biggest bet of the season. I mean, I had more money on the Eagles than I had on any team in my entire career, and it's for good reason. I mean, you guys know about the sentiment I have for this team. If you haven't heard me before, I'll touch on a few of the points. And it's funny because we just seen what just happened against the Eagles, and what do the bookies do? They open up their arms again. Tomlin as a dog, public aping in on the dog, and the bookies again just opening their arms to all this action. It's at 6. I don't see it going through the 6. I would definitely be concerned with my action if it went through the 6. But I think it's funny they just lose, don't cover, and now it's a bigger number in division where we've never seen Lamar Jackson cover against the Pittsburgh Steelers in his career. I think the bookies are trying to tell us a story of what's going on in this situation, because the Steelers are another team who's benefited from an easy strength of schedule. I talked about this ad nauseum over the past 2 weeks. And if you look back at what they did against, actually, let's touch on the Eagles. One more thing. I'm thinking about Tomlin as a dog. I think Tomlin is the reason they lost that game. There's some things that Tomlin did as a coach. One being, the one thing that sticks out in my head is the punt he made in Eagles territory, punted it, never got the ball back. The trickle flood, Eagles just started leaning on and picking up first down after first down. You look back to when they played Baltimore, they were absolutely lucky to have won that first matchup. Like I talked about with Caleb Williams, what he did against the Vikings, it was not a repeatable performance. And if you look back at what happened in that game, they got outgained by 2 yards per play. They benefited from 2 fumbles and 2 missed field goals. And in that game, the Ravens averaged 6.5 yards per carry. So it's not like the Steelers' vaunted run defense was that strong. And I talked about this. Is another thing I sent Jim today, because I talked about this too over the past. Steelers' offense is going to regress. You look at some of the advanced metrics, specifically their EPA on third down. Their third and short EPA per play is off the charts. I can't look back at history, but I would have to imagine that is the highest EPA, meaning all of their favorable EPA, all their efficiency is basically because they're blowing the roof off on third and short because they're hitting the deep ball. I think the Ravens are going to have something ready for it. And you take away, Pickman on the outside. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it and to be able to repeat what they've done before. This is a market where it's also a market where I see very clear trends for the Ravens. Obviously, if we close below the 6, I said that, I'm sick of this Tomlin narrative. It's magical unicorn fairy dust. It's going to regress. We've seen it regress last week. We see a very similar market this week. I already moved on the Ravens. I moved on a double result. I got the money line parlay that you're referring to, Jim, with the Eagles later on, with intentions that I'll talk about if this weren't to come through. But it's funny, when you look in the database, you look at the history of home teams that open and close between 6 and 7, because I don't see it getting down to 5.5. At face value, it's not that great for the Ravens. 15 and 16 ATS, 48%, but 26 and 6 straight up. That's 81%. And the best part about this sample is the sharp action, the bigger bets, 7 and 21 ATS. The sharp action has been completely misleading in this situation. 7 and 21. So if the sharp action is on the road team in this sample, the home team that was just 15 and 16 ATS is now 10 and 5 ATS, 15 and 1 straight up. And then you got to look at, because sharp action is the bigger bets, you want to look at when all the cash is on one side too, which turns this into an undefeated trend. And honestly, the worst profile, and I try to find profiles to poke holes in myself because I didn't want to go against the Steelers. I want, recency bias sticks in my head because of you, Jim. The worst profile I can put together for Pittsburgh puts the Ravens at 3 and 5 ATS trend, but 7 and 1 straight up. So the money line is very solid historically. Even with the move, that's with a heavy line move towards the road team, right? So, I love the money line in this situation.
I think that both Watt and Pickens play.
So do I.
And because of that, and Spenny's right, the Pickens was on the sidelines kind of doing individual drills. And so he needs a full practice. But because of that, I almost want to wait, but I want to add that double result. I did bet Troy's Ravens Eagles money line parlay. But I agree with Birdie. I think that, I mean, the double result won't change that much. And what will it move from minus
I mean, if
115?
it goes through the sticks, it'll go from where I bet it at minus 120 to minus 106, minus 108.
I'm getting minus 115 right now. So we shall see here. I think Baltimore is the play here. I really do. I think that also I did move on the Ravens to win the division before the game last week at plus 175. I max bet it. It's still plus 140. I thought that would have changed more. It's still plus 140 for the Ravens to win the division here. Will Pickens and Watt be 100%? It wouldn't surprise me, Mac, if Pickens is 100%. Watt will not be 100% here.
Well, Pickens is 100%. I mean, he just runs straight and has great ball skills. You know, he's a little bit of a diva, though. If you watch the way he plays, he's a diva.
Oh, no doubt about it.
So I don't know how much he's going to press if it does bother him at all. But TJ Watt will not be 100%, not even close in my opinion.
But he's such a gamer. He'll be out there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he'll have the spricks. He'll have that little get right.
I want the Ravens double result. When do I wait? Or how long do I wait? Is the question. I moved on the money line parlay with you. I moved on that. I got a plus 115. It's moved a little bit. It was a plus 116 on an offshore. It was plus 115 at 365. It's now plus 113. Like, it's moved. The only thing that's moved just before show started was it gone 10 cents. Ravens were 10 cents more expensive. Yeah, Dougie was. I like that double result. I'm very, very interested in it. Okay, so let's roll. Troy on the Ravens Eagles money line parlay. I'm with him on it. We both bet it. He's on Ravens double result. I want the double result, and there's nothing wrong with the Ravens, covering. Like, I wouldn't be against the triple up. Now, I've only had 2 triple ups this year, and I've swept them both. But I wouldn't be. This is a spot I kind of want to slam here. So that is Saturday's action. We roll on to Sunday. Sunday, December 22nd, New York Giants 2-12, 2-4 on the road. Atlanta Falcons 7-7, 3-4 at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have, let me move this back over here. Okay, sorry. Line history-wise, we have the Giants right now plus 10 and minus 118, now minus 123. So the announcement of Penix Jr. starting, it's only moved the needle 5 cents since that announcement. So it's gone to minus 123. That last move was 9 minutes ago. Let's get to the total here. From a total perspective, we have a 41 flat, 41 at a pick'em. It's not moved at all. Let's take a look at the cash flow then for this one. We have 59% of the tickets, 43% of the cash on the Giants, 89% of tickets, 75% cash on the over. So let's roll. Giants passing offense 30th, 185.1 yards per game. Rushing offense 18th, 111.3. Red zone offense worst in the league. They score touchdowns 42.1% of the time. Third down offense is 27th, 34.7% of the time they convert. Their passing defense 7th, and that's not because they have a great secondary or anything like that. It's just that teams are dominating them and just keep running the ball down their throat and not take risks. Rush defense is second last. They allow 143.7 yards per game. Rush defense 15th, 53.7%. Third down defense 17th, 39.4%. Giants coming off their franchise tying 9th straight loss, 35-14 at home to the Ravens. The Ravens outgained them 445 to 236. Tommy DeVito 10 of 13 for 68 yards before leaving with a concussion. He's in protocol. Drew Lock still dealing with heel and elbow injuries. It's expected that Tim Boyle will be getting the start here. He came in last week, went 12 of 24 for 123 yards, touchdown, and interception. The Giants won't practice until tomorrow, but they both said it's very possible that the starter will be Tim Boyle this week. The 3 best plays for the Giants in the game were Boyle passes, 25-yarder to Wan'Dale Robinson, Neighbors touchdown, 17-yarder to Bellinger. So he'd only worked with the scout team and had not taken a single practice snap with the Giants offense. So, they're kind of, it's not hard to outshine Tommy DeVito, and Drew Lock. Remember Boyle's been around. Rookie free agent for the Packers in 2019 from Eastern Kentucky. Played for Detroit in 2021, Chicago in 2022, Jets in 2023, Miami and the Giants this season. He's 23 regular season games, 5 starts, 3 with the Lions, 2 with the Jets, 5 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I mean, there's not a lot of great numbers here. So Neighbors led receivers with 10 catches for 82 yards. Ground game struggled, but the Ravens' run defense so good. Tracy and Singletary combined for 56 yards on 18 carries. Offense 2 of 12 on third down. The defense did very little. Ravens got whatever they wanted. 9 of 11 third down. Pass rush had 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits, and the linebacker Patrick Johnson left the game with a knee injury. He's listed as questionable. Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. Passing offense 6th, 238.9 yards per game, but Cousins has been just an abomination. He's just been horrific. So Penix is in. Rushing offense 12th, 124.2 yards per game. Red zone offense 27th. Third down offense 21st. I mean, these are ugly numbers. Pass defense 24th, 225.9 yards per game. Rush defense 13th, 116.8. This defense is bad. Red zone defense 25th in the league. They allow touchdowns 62.8% of the time. Their third down defense is second worst in the entire league, allowing conversions 44.9% of the time. They're coming off a short week following an ugly 59 victory at Las Vegas. You know, I get why this would be the right time to get Penix in. It's a horrifically weak opponent. Now, the short week doesn't help, but you're coming home at least. They snapped that 4-game losing streak. They're a game behind the Buccaneers. I did cash my over 7.5 wins on the Buccaneers. Troy, it was a nice banger there. 500 on that. It was juiced. It was juiced, but caught that cake. Cousins entered with no touchdown passes, 8 interceptions over his previous 4 starts, and he was horrific. 11-17, 112 yards, touchdown interception. You could tell he had no confidence at all while we watched the game. Drake London, 3 catches for 53. London passed Calvin Ridley for the most catches in Falcons history over players' first 3 seasons, 217. Bijan Robinson ran 22 times for 125 yards, and Tyler Algier ran 12 for 43. You cashed on both of those player props. That was excellent work. Offense was just 4-13 on third down. Didn't run a single play in the red zone. And this meek pass rush has looked quite a bit stronger in recent weeks. They finished with 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, got interceptions from Simmons and Bates, held the Raiders to just 3.8 yards per play and 4-14 on third down. But it's the Raiders. Penix in now and confirmed does change this a little bit, and I can't wait to hear, or a lot. I can't wait to hear your breakdown. Giants, Falcons, take it away.
It was really hard to find an angle that I liked in this game, mostly because I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Giants. I personally want to back the Giants in this situation. I would like DeVito to be out there, but can someone please tell me? Like, I don't understand. I couldn't find. There's no reports on it. How is Tim Boyle in the NFL? I mean, this guy's a professional tanker. In college, he had 1 touchdown and 13 interceptions with 4.5 yards per pass. Now, in the NFL, it's not much better. 5 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 5.2 yards per pass. These numbers are gross. He's the last guy I would want to back if I had to. He's the last quarterback I would want to see under center if I was backing the Giants. And after watching every snap of the Falcons and Raiders game very closely, there's no chance I'm on the Falcons in this situation. Kirk Cousins, an absolute statue in the pocket, no mobility at all. He's an inaccurate thrower at this point. He's missing easy reads against zone coverage with a very clear single read on a linebacker. He chooses the dig. You throw the dig behind him. Whatever dig he chooses, you got one right behind him. It was wide open. He missed it like 3 times. It was making me sick to my stomach watching that. The defense played great, and it probably had more to do with the underwhelming offense, but this New York Giant offense is just as underwhelming, right? So there's no way I'm going to have my money involved in this game. I guess I would just I don't even want to give a recommendation. I have no action in this game, nor will I.
Well, I can tell you that I won't be on the Atlanta Falcons. I just think it's really difficult to put together a script when, we don't really know what Penix is going to do, but I wouldn't put it past it to, galvanize the troops. I'm with you. Tim Boyle is very, very weak, but I'm not nearly as high on Tommy Cutlets as you are. And I know high isn't the right word, but you just think that he's the best option.
Yeah. The worst of 3 evils.
Mm-hmm. Now, if Penix is in, let's say it's Penix Boyle, I'm a little worried that Boyle will, throw the ball all over the place. I don't feel comfortable with the total here. You know,
I actually think I like the Giants to be able to stop the run game a little bit. Penix is a guy that I was extremely high on. If you remember, we haven't talked about him because he's been on the pine for so long, but he was the guy quarterback I was the highest on coming out of the draft.
Yeah. I mean, so is he going to deliver right off the hop? I mean, even like a Falcons team total, I mean, it's like around 25. I would have some interest in going underneath that, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I don't think they're, even if
I agree with that.
They're up against a weak competition. Penix just wants to get They just want Penix to get comfortable. It's not like he's going to be airing the ball all over the place. I mean, they're going to focus on with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, that 1-2 punch, and they're just going to put this game to sleep.
And we've seen plenty of teams just cruise against this Giants team when they get out to a lead, and sometimes it gets closer than you'd imagine that you'd want. But yeah, I agree. Because it's going to be a highly contested game. Like, the Falcons need to win. That don't mean they're going to go out there and blow a team out. They're just going to be doing the right maneuvers to get the W on the board, which I like the under. Like, the under makes sense.
It does. I'm going to study it a little longer here. Spending on neighbors over. I'm interested in the under. I might be a little more interested in Falcons team total under. I just need to see. I'm curious also to see where this line goes. Again, it's not moved at all. Initially, there was a move to the over, but that stopped with the announcement. And again, I want to see 89% of tickets, 75% of cash on the over. I want to see if that's the case. So we'll leave that there. Markel looking at Giants first half money line. Ziggy says, I like the Giants against spread. New rookie quarterbacks don't do well in their first game, and Giants are better on the road. That's very legitimate. And Slatsy, I did not see that trade in the CFL. Wow, I'm very surprised by it, but I need to study it before I make any comments. Okay, let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Detroit Lions 12-2, 6-0 on the road. The Chicago Bears 4-10, 4-3 at home. We're at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. It's cold, but not windy. 26 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 6-mile-per-hour winds. Let me ask you, Troy, are you uncomfortable with your Detroit Lions future action?
It's time for me to start getting a little uncomfortable, but luckily, I basically took two sides in the NFC, both teams to win the conference and to win the Super Bowl. It's the Eagles and the Lions. So yeah, the Lions are definitely not feeling as confident with all the defensive, injuries.
I don't see how they have a chance. Not a single chance. And I don't mean to be that drastic, but it's just too many injuries at this point. So let me ask you this. If the Green Bay Packers had to head to Detroit in a playoff game, you think the Lions are going to beat them for the third straight time this year?
No. I think the Packers win in this situation. Yeah, I think the Packers get the win.
Let's talk about the spot. Now, and look, I'm sure this is already going to get a whole bunch of Lions fans, shitting all over me. Look, they've shown a ton of character this year. It's not anything negative. Your football team's showing a ton of character. But look, it's just too much. It's just too many injuries. This total opened up at 48.5. It's dropped 1.5 to 47. On the spread, we have Detroit as 6.5-point favorites at -107. The line has not moved there. When we get to the total in this one, we have 74% of tickets, 73% of cash on the Detroit Lions, 69% of tickets, and 86% cash on the over. Bobano's been betting the team total for any team playing the Detroit Lions for a little while. And I don't, it would make sense even with a team like the Bears. We'll talk about Lions first. Passing offense, second in the league, 260.1. Goff's been phenomenal this year. Rushing offense, sixth, 143.7 yards per game on the ground. Red zone offense, second. They score touchdowns 70% of the time. Third down offense, fifth. They convert 45.8% of the time. We have Birdie saying he is betting the Lions -6.5. Let's talk about the Lions defense. Pass defense, 26th. They allow 234.5 yards per game through the air, just sixth rush defense allowing 101.3. Red zone defense been great all year. 8th in the league. They allow touchdowns 51.2% time. And their third down defense is still the best in the NFL. There's only 3 games left for that to be taken away from them, and it will. The Lions coming off a 48-42 loss at home to the Bills, snapped their franchise record 11-game winning streak. So Aleem McNeil, they lose him for the season with a torn ACL. He's such a big body. They lose Carlton Davis, their cornerback, for 6 weeks with a broken jaw. If that timeline holds up, he would be available for the NFC Championship game if the Lions make it that far. To make the loss of Carlton Davis hurt even more, they lose defensive back Khalil Dorsey for the season to an ankle injury. So it's Kindle Vildor who will be filling a starting role at cornerback. On offense, they lose David Montgomery. He's already undergone the season-ending surgery for an MCL sprain. This incredible two-headed monster is no longer there, and horrifically, the total rush yards for Montgomery was 775.5, and he closed at 775.
Insane.
Half yard off cashing the over for those bettors. It's just messed. Goff was 38 of 59 for 494 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, he's just having an incredible year. Among we're saying Brown caught 14 for 193 in a touchdown. He did lose a fumble. Sammy Laporta caught 7 passes for 111 yards. Jameer Gibbs ran 8 times for 31 yards, touchdown, caught 5 passes for 83 yards and touchdown. 9 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down. A perfect 5 for 5 in the red zone, but the defense was nowhere to be found. Bills put up 559 total yards, 8.2 yards per play. And the pass rush, which was such a focal point for them, 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. Bills went 6 of 11 on 3rd and 4th down, 5 of 7 in the red zone. The Bears, what a tricky cap they are. Passing offense, I was astonished. Weren't you astonished with how many people were on the Bears last night?
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe it. It was just, there was way more people on the Bears than were on the Vikings, and I couldn't comprehend it. Passing offense 31st, only one team, worse than the 181.9 yards per game they get. Rushing offense 21st, 106.4. Red zone offense 5th, but their third down offense is second worst in the league at 32.3%. They're not getting to the red zone. Passing defense 19th, 217.8 yards per game. Rush defense 26th. They allow 133.3 yards per game. Red zone defense is 3rd, 48.2%. Third down defense 10th, but I don't see it when I watch this defense lately. Bears coming off a short week after yet another ugly loss, 30-12 at Minnesota. They've been outscored. Imagine Bears fans or Bears backers. They've been outscored 53-0 in the first half over the last 3 games. They're the first team with 3 consecutive scoreless first halves since Jacksonville in 2018. Caleb Williams was 18 of 31 for 191 yards, touchdown. He also lost a fumble, but he kept his NFL rookie record streak of 286 straight passes without an interception. 8 straight game. But the Bears have lost all of those. Keenan Allen caught 6 passes for 82 yards, touchdown. DJ Moore caught 8 for 46. He also ran 3 times for 24 yards. DeAndre Swift ran 19 times for 79 yards, caught a 10-yard pass. The Bears were 1 of 12 on 3rd down, 1 of 12, 1 of 3 in 4th down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. They allowed the Vikings 24 first downs. Vikings went 7 of 14 on 3rd down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. Tyreek Stevenson had an interception. It won't change how people feel about the man. Pass rush had 2 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. Ryan Bates and Braxton Jones missed the game, and both are in concussion protocol. And Dexter missed the game with a knee injury. It's a big loss, 5 sacks this year at defensive tackle. Take it away for us here, Troy. Lions, Bears.
Right away, when I look at the price of this game, I think about the Bears' Jekyll and Hyde nature. Their last 3 games, they've been absolutely terrible, but all 3 of those games have been on the road. The 3 games prior to that, they played down to the wire with Minnesota and Green Bay. One thing you could almost guarantee nowadays, the past few years, the Bears don't win in division, but they cover spreads in division on the road or at home. It's a little bit of a difficult spot because you look at the weather too. Goff outdoors. I know maybe that narrative is starting to flip too. Like we're going to see Tomlin's flip because Goff has actually, done pretty well outdoors in pretty shitty weather this year. Well, we're going to see freezing cold temperatures. We're going to see 3 days of snow leading up to that. And if anything, like this is going to be a Super Bowl type spot for the Bears. This is going to be, I guess, this would be a game, if any, that the Bears would be able to get up for. And Caleb Williams, so right away, I want to look to back the Bears, but it's really hard to get there because you watched that game last night. You watched Caleb Williams, who's just been boom or bust. I mean, he's definitely capable of making every throw, using his legs, throwing on the run, but he's been the worst deep ball passer in the NFL. He struggles to read coverages post-snap. It's very, disheartening. And, Bears fans probably don't know it, but you can see over and over that he misses reads. He's too quick to get off his reads. He gets concerned about the blitz. His offensive line, people talk shit about this offensive line, but they've been performing. You look at run block, pass block win rates, they've been performing. Now, the scheme's probably not there. They're probably not well coached in terms of unity because they have to be in unison as an offensive line. But when they get their hands on guys, they've been winning. They've been absolutely winning. Caleb Williams is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league right now. Oh, man, you just can't cultivate good QB talent in bad environments like he was put in. It's a really tough situation, Jim, because, Goff, he throws for 400 yards and a loss. This defense that was extremely vulnerable last year is starting to resurface with all these injuries. And, they're the Lions, just like the Bears have been on the road, the Lions have been at home. Now they go on the road after kind of getting punched in the mouth. You expect the Lions team to respond in this situation. It's just there's too many conflicting narratives. I really wanted to find a side in this game. I just can't do it. I think that we also don't know how Caleb Williams is going to perform in these type of temperatures, this type of weather, which I think is going to be colder than being let on in the news.
So I cashed the 10.5 wins on the Lions. That was juiced. I have the division at plus 130. So, of course, I look to see, and right now they're still big favorites in the division despite being tied with the Vikings, and that's because they host the Vikings to close out the year. Right now, the Lions to win the NFC North minus 275, Vikings plus 210. So, I went over the situation, and it still should probably come down to that final game of the year where then I could just, it's hard to imagine Lions being too big of a favorite, but I could see if there's a middle or just hedge then. I'm trying to figure out exactly what to do. Do you think the Lions can hold on here through the rest of the season? I'll tell you the situation here quickly for the Detroit Lions. I know we don't have time, but we got to run on. But they're at the Bears this week. They're at the Niners next week, and they close at home against the Vikings. Maybe I should move. Just have the a little bit on the Vikings right now. The Vikings are at the Seahawks this week. They host the Packers next week. And then they go at Detroit. I'm going to need to study that for a lot longer and make a decision here.
I think they hold on.
It's important here. AOD in the house.
So this is another situation in division where you see the road team win but not cover. Like the one sample I talked about the home favorite in this price range, the Ravens, who covered a much higher frequency. But the one profile I said that they win but they don't cover. This is a situation in all the profiles in this game. The home team covers, the road team wins.
That would be the expectation right now. Are they going to fight for Thomas Brown in 26 Fahrenheit temperatures? And then we'll move on. Can you answer that? I know it's a very difficult, loaded question, but do you expect them to fight for their new interim coach who will definitely not be their head coach next year, Thomas Brown?
That's what I was trying to figure out. And I don't think they are. I think about the New England Patriots spot where they came off a road game, a road loss where they got blown out. They lost 2 on the road. They lost to the Commanders. They lost to the Cardinals. Got blown out by the Cardinals, came home and laid an absolute egg against the Patriots. But that was not a divisional spot. No, I don't know, man. It's too tough. It's a tough
one. It's going to require more study without a doubt. And then the total, of course, 69% of tickets, 86% cash are on the over because we've just seen the craziest scores you could imagine. One last look at the total because I do have interest in the Bears. I'm not betting it tonight, and I need to think this one over. But this total has dropped from 48.5 to about a 47.5. Do you agree with the move to the under?
Yeah, I do. With the temperatures and with the Bears' inability to put up points. And yeah, I agree with the under 100%.
Okay, this one's going to take a lot of work. We are not done. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern with the Cleveland Browns, 3-11, 1-6 on the road. Cincinnati Bengals, 6-8, 1-5 at home. If you wanted more interesting quarterback decisions, the Cleveland Browns will be starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson in this football game. He is being confirmed as the starter. Let's talk about the Browns, but we don't need to go over their passing offense and rushing offense. They're rushing now with no Nick Chubb, who broke his foot. We don't really need to go over these stats. Now, I mean, their third down offense is the worst in the league. I mean, that we can expect to continue, 28.6% with DTR. Red zone offense, 13th. I mean, it's not going to be, they're almost never there. Birdie bet the Browns at +7.5. Let's take a look at the line history here for our next spot on the board. Very interesting. Birdie's moved on the Browns. Let's talk about the total. This total is at 47. The announcement has done nothing. It's changed nothing. But this has dropped 1.5 or 2 points already. But that was before the announcement. On the spread, we have the Browns +7.5 at a pick'em. They opened up at 7. It's 7.5 now. Again, these lines have not moved since 2 p.m. So the announcement is a non-issue, it looks like, which is a bit of a surprise. From a cash flow standpoint, what can I find? Here we go. 30% of the tickets, 23% of the cash on the Cleveland Browns. 40% of the tickets, 63% of cash on the under. So let's roll. Saturated says Bengals will murder in this spot, mostly because I'm starting them in the conference final in my fantasy league. Let's roll here with the Browns. So their defense, pass defense, 11th league, 212.7. Rush defense, 23rd, 128.2 yards per game. The red zone defense, 19th, 59.1% of the time they allow touchdowns. Third down defense just is 9th. It's pretty good, 36.2%. The Browns coming off an ugly 21-7 loss at home to the Chiefs. Famous Jameis, 16-25, 146 yards, 3 picks, pulled in favor of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He went 4 for 9 for 18 yards and threw a pick, but it was enough. Winston's thrown 8 interceptions over the last 3 starts. Judy cut 11 for 108. Nick Chubb ran 9 times for 41 yards before breaking his foot. He's done for the season, but it doesn't require surgery. Jerome Ford rushed 7 times for 82 yards, included that 62-yard TD run. That was the lone offensive highlight. The offense didn't run a play in the red zone, 4-12 on third down. Browns defense held the Chiefs to just 4.1 yards per play and 7 of 18 on third down, but, no red zone plays. Pass rush didn't record a sack. Did get 12 quarterback hits, though. Martin Emerson Jr., cornerback, went to the locker room in the second quarter with a concussion. He did not return. He's in concussion protocol. Shelby Harris went out in the second quarter. Both are listed as questionable. But Stefanski said yesterday that he thinks Njoku will be able to play. So Njoku should be in. And same with Cedric Tillman. He expects both Njoku and Tillman in the lineup. Neither were in the lineup in Week 15. Talk about the Bengals. Number one passing yardage-wise offense in the league, 271.4 yards per game. Rushing offense, 30th, but we saw a much better Chase Brown last week. Red zone offense, 4th. Third down offense, 4th. Very impressive offense. It's their defense that's been an enormous problem. It's going to be an even bigger problem. Passing defense, 27, 239.2 yards per game. Rushing defense, 20th. They allow 126.9. Red zone defense, second worst in the league, allowing touchdowns 69.6% of the time. Their third down defense, 28th at 44.4%. So here we go. Bengals come in off a 37-27 victory at Tennessee. Burrow was 26-37 for 271 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. He did lose a fumble. He is now thrown for a franchise record 36 touchdowns. 5th player in NFL history with at least 3 TD passes in 6 straight games. Just Brady with 10 in 07, Luck with 8 in 2018, Peyton Manning with 8 in 04, and Dan Marino with 7 in 1986-87. Jamar Chase got 9 passes for 94 yards, 5th player in NFL history with at least 100 receptions, 1,400 receiving yards, and 15 touchdowns in a season. So he joins Marvin Harrison, Randy Moss, and shout out to Randy Moss, fighting cancer right now, Jerry Rice, and Cooper Kupp in 2021. T. Higgins caught 5 passes for 88 yards, a touchdown. Chase Brown ran 25 for 97 and a touchdown. He caught 3 for 16 and a touchdown. Bengals went 10 of 13 on third down, 3 of 5 in the red zone. But the defense continues to struggle. The meek Titans offense put up 374 yards on them. Went 5 of 8 on third down and went a perfect 4 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush finished 1 sack, 5 quarterback hits. Secondary had 4 interceptions. Geno Stone ran 1 back for 39 yards and a touchdown. Taylor Britt, Newton, and Hilton also had interceptions. But the Bengals also had 4 turnovers. It was the first 10 turnover game since week 2 in 2007. But let's talk about the defense. Starting defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins was out. We don't expect him back right now. He's been out for a long time with this sickness or whatever it is. Then they lose Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard going to miss the rest of the season with a PCL injury. That was injured his knee after his 2-yard TD catch. That's the first defensive player to catch it, to score a touchdown, run or pass since Bobby Hunt in '68. So they're without Orlando Brown Jr. Then they were out Cody Ford because he was a late scratch because of an illness. So the Bengals started Devin Cochran, a rookie with 1 offensive snap before Sunday. I mean, that's what's happened to this offensive line. And now they lose Sam Hubbard. I mean, how could anybody want to back this team for the rest of the season? I don't get it. I don't know how anyone would. Take it away for us here, Troy. The Browns with Dorian Thompson-Robinson heading to Cincinnati, a team with arguably the worst defense in the National Football League. You're muted, my man.
It's really hard to trust either team in this situation. The Bengals are a team that just, and it's reflected in their record, they just continue to shoot themselves in the foot. The Browns are in shambles at the quarterback position with absolutely nothing to play for. Actually, starting to fall in that category of incentivized to tank. And if I didn't know any better, the switch over to DTR is kind of showing their cards at face value that they want to tank, because DTR has not been very good. Has not been very good over the past 2 seasons. The Browns have been terrible on the road, but the Bengals, you could say the same about them at home. I mean, both teams it's just really hard to trust either of these teams. But I don't see how this Browns man-to-man defense is going to hold up. I don't see how their man-to-man defense is going to hold up versus Jamar Chase, versus T. Higgins. Their inability to make tackles, and it's probably because of their record. Last year, they were a great tackling team. This year, they're one of the worst tackling teams in the league. It's one of the main reasons their defense is starting to fall off the charts, because their tackling just continues to get worse defensively. It probably comes down to effort, right? Where's that little bit of effort? Where's the pursuit, right? Where's the pursuit? It's not there. Now, the pass rush has still been very solid. The front 7 have been very solid, but the coverage has not been solid this year. They do have a stud with Ward in the defensive backfield, but outside of that, it just hasn't been there. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson, we've seen him in this same matchup earlier this season, and he was awful. And I remember backing DTR last season. Now, he was at home against the Ravens, catching a very similar number to what we're looking at today. And I remember thinking, this is a great spot to back the Browns at home. This is the division you want to do it. This is the type of team you want to do it. And he came out there and they laid an egg. It was 28-3 Ravens. And I know you can't compare that Ravens defense last year with this Bengals defense, but you can't compare last year's Browns defense with this defense that we're looking at here. I just believe that the Bengals are going to win this game, and I think they're incentivized to do so. I think that the Browns want to lose this game. So I took a Ravens-Bengals moneyline parlay, -125. Bengals at home. I mean, they've been profitable at home at big home favorites, or on the road as a home favorite of more than 3 in division, 2-1 ATS, 3-1 straight up. Only loss was to the Steelers in Week 1 of 2022 over the past 3 years.
I don't know. The Bengals are so susceptible defensively right now, but we're basically saying that DTR can't take advantage of it.
DTR cannot. I don't think he's going to be able to take advantage of it. That's personally my feeling of it. You look at some of his advanced metrics, some of his PFF grades. I mean, he doesn't put the ball into traffic, but even his. I mean, there's nothing what is there to like about this guy? I really don't know. I don't think he's going to be able to run a competent offense. We've seen it before. Well, no one has seen it as much as me. I've watched every DTR start.
I'm going to need more time, because knowing that Birdie is, sitting back with a smile on his face on the Browns just makes me want to spend a little more time on it. But I'm not doing anything right now. And I also don't agree with this move to the under. Like, now we could say, look, the Browns aren't going to put up more than 10 points. If that's the case, I don't think that 47 is dead necessarily, because the Bengals are capable of going 30 plus, but.
Oh, absolutely. Well, here's the problem with it too. You're going to have some turnover worthy, you're going to have some turnover potential from the Browns. You always do. And you have the explosive plays. The Browns allow explosive plays. They play cover 0. They play guys on an island, and they can't tackle. So what happens when guys on an island can't tackle? Massive 50-plus yard touchdowns.
Brady says if this game goes over, he goes 0 for 2. So, Brady, you have the under as well? I didn't see that. All right, I'm going to need more time on this game.
I mean, it's not a massive bet for me. I'm just pairing it with the Ravens money line.
No, I feel you. So, Brady, can you confirm that you're on the over as well? Okay, we're moving on. Troy on a Ravens-Bengals money line parlay. At this point, I've got nothing to do with that football game. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Tennessee Titans 3-11, 2-5 on the road at Indianapolis Colts 6-8, 3-3 at home. For more quarterback information, I'm getting a Mason Rudolph start for the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis is being benched once again on the under. Okay, thanks, Brady. What number did you get? Too, I want to be curious about that because I'm going to be watching this line move. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have a total 42.5 juice to the over. We see flat 42.5. This has been a 4-cent move to the over. There was a 2-cent move to the over about an hour and a half ago. 4 cents.
I think, Jimmy, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think Penix just got announced as the starter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we were, yeah. That was the.
Oh, that was official while we were capping it?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
But it only, we knew that before the show started, we just knew that Morris hadn't said anything. And then we got told in the chat that Penix was official. Titans, Colts here. The spread, Indianapolis it's a 3.5 market wide. I'm looking at a 4.5. I don't mind when they don't change it because you see exactly what's happened at that number. Tennessee opened up plus 4.5 minus 106. They're now plus 4.5 minus 123. There's been 17 cents of movement towards Tennessee at that number at 4.5 with the announcement of Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Vincent Hawkins says this game goes over. Jared TD says, I think we've seen the last of Levis as a full-time NFL starter. I thought the same thing, Jared. I thought the same thing. Let's roll here. Titans passing offense. We don't need to go over these stats, really. They're improved slightly with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Red zone offense, 25th. Third down offense, 22nd. Their pass defense, third. It's just because teams have been so far ahead of them all year. They're not ranked third. They just allow the third least yards because teams are way ahead of them. They just run the ball down their throat and don't take risks and know that they have a decent secondary. Rush defense, 12th. 115.2. We have their red zone defense 27th. They allow touchdowns 64.6% time. Their third down defense is 16th at 38.7%. The Titans coming off an ugly 37-27 loss at home to the Bengals. Will Levis 8-12 for 89 yards, 3 interceptions, and lost a fumble before being pulled from Mason Rudolph. That was right after he allowed his NFL high 4th pick 6 of the season. Rudolph went 21-26 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And it was announced today that Mason Rudolph will start. Tajay Spears had 4 carries for 5 yards and 1 touchdown, but he did catch 6 passes for 87 yards and a touchdown. Chiga Okonkwo caught 8 for 59 yards. Tony Pollard ran 17 times for 45 yards and a touchdown. He also lost a fumble. The offense put up 374 total yards, went 5 of 8 on third down, and a perfect 4 of 4 in the red zone, but the defense couldn't get stops. Bengals went 10 of 13 on third down, 3 of 5 in the red zone. The pass rush combined for 1 sack and 6 quarterback hits. Daryl Worley and Luke Gifford had interceptions, but Luke left the game with a concussion in the second quarter, and he's in protocol. Let's talk about the Colts. Passing offense, 27th in the league, 190.4 yards per game. Rushing offense, 13th at 120.9. Red zone offense, 20th at 53.7%. Third down offense, 25th at 25.8%. Pass defense 23rd. They allowed 224.4 yards per game. Rush defense 30th at 141.6. Red zone defense 17th. They allow touchdowns 57.7% of the time. And third down defense 27th, 44.4%. I don't want to play player props. I try not to. I only do the player props, that way I feel like I'm forced to. Not being on Chuba Hubbard after the fumble in overtime, not being on him the next week, has haunted me. It was just the perfect spot psychologically. When there's a perfect spot psychologically, I think you kind of need to put the line through the statistics that would get you off of it. In that case, it was the Eagles' rush defense. In this case here, Jonathan Taylor is going to have a monster football game. After the debacle, did you see his face? Did you hear him talk afterward? I mean, he was just broken over it. And I'm going to back him here as soon as I can. as soon as I can. The Colts coming off a heartbreaking 31-13 loss at Denver. Looked like the Colts were going to be up 20-7 in the third quarter when Taylor dropped the ball. And that was the closest I've ever seen. Like, that was the closest one I've ever seen. All the other ones, you kind of get it, a second before, but this was so close. But he dropped the ball before crossing the goal line. Would have been a 41-yard touchdown. That was followed, of course, by a Denver touchdown, and then Nick Bonito stepped in front of that stupid trick play. The Colts outgained the Broncos 310-193. Anthony Richardson was 17-38 for 172 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. He also ran 7 times for 46 yards and touchdown. Michael Pittman led receivers with 6 catches for 58 yards. Taylor ran 22 times for 107 yards, but the blunder at the goal line cost him the game. The defense held the Broncos to just 3.2 yards per play and 6 of 17 on third down. The pass rush is weak, 1 sack and 1 quarterback hit. Secondary did get interceptions from Cross, Franklin, and Womack. Alec Pierce left in the first half with concussion. He's in concussion protocol. Braden Smith is not coming back. Braden Smith, we were waiting for him to come back. He's not coming back. He's dealing with a personal matter. He hasn't suited up since week 12. He's now going on the NFI list. He's required to sit the remainder of the year. Ryan Kelly at center. So you lose the tackle on Braden Smith at center. Ryan Kelly missed his 5th straight game, and he was designated to return from the injured reserve last Wednesday. They say his return is not far off. So what I want to do here is, and this is just kind of being formed as we've been talking about it, not only do I want to back Jonathan Taylor, but I also don't want to care about this market. Again, I just want to go over the cash flow for it. I think I didn't go over it. We have 54% of tickets and 56% of cash on the Titans. 80% of tickets, 62% cash on the over. Look, I don't care that Mason Rudolph looked good last week. I know exactly who Mason Rudolph is. You bump your head on that ceiling every time you stand up. He's not going to surprise you. And when in his head, he's just going to try to not make mistakes. He's trying not to do what Will Levis did. Why do the Colts not absolutely smash and grab the Titans here, despite this market, making us uncomfortable? Take it away, Troy.
You're hitting it on the head, man. And honestly, with your bullishness, you definitely just got me there. I wanted to put a lot of my, equity, or if I was going to be on this game or not, into the database, because we're looking at a divisional matchup in the line range where I consider it a sharp trap. This line movement has been historically inaccurate, home favorites. And I guess I'll start with that, because I think it's pretty important. This market is what you're concerned about, if that's what's holding you back, Jim. When a home team opens less than 6, because I don't want to include my cash cow profile where we move through the 6, right? Home teams that open less than 6 and close between 3.5 and 4. So they don't quite get down to 3. I don't think we're ever going to look at a 3 in this matchup. I expect to land between 3.5 and 4 somewhere come kickoff. So in that case, with that line movement and a total less than 47, you got the home team is 11-4 ATS, 12-3 straight up. Now, if you add in the divisional, so that's the sharp trap profile, and I know it gets a little bit worse in division, 5-3 ATS, 6-2 straight up. Jim, I'm right there with you. I want to move on this. I think Steichen's going to have his team ready to play. I think Jonathan Taylor, this is a team that's going to be able to show out at home. Jonathan Taylor, after that loss in Denver, like seeing him and hearing you speak about that and remembering times where you spoke of like this in the past, it's time. I like this. I like this action. I like this bet. I like the Colts to bounce back, because they still do have, a 10% chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to need, the Broncos. If the Broncos lose to the Chargers on Thursday, then there might be a little bit more hope for the squad. But I'm all over this. I'm going to bet this as soon as the show's over. Colts minus 3.5. Colts double result. I'll bet the Jonathan Taylor prop as soon as it's available, whether or not that's rushing, receiving, and rushing, a double up on Taylor.
I would recommend you will be able to get into an opportunity where you can get, I think you'll potentially be able to get sometime this week a -3, -125 if you're interested in that, because there are quite a few games in this sample that land on the 3. So you can get the push equity on the -125. It is slightly more favorable to do that if you could get a -125. Other than that, if it's minus 130, which if you tease it 3.5 down to 3, usually you're not getting any better than 130. So if you can't beat 130, don't do it.
Well, right now, I'm getting minus 132 at 365, and I'm getting minus 128 offshore. So I think you might be right.
Look at this. This is a great, really representative sample here that I think I got. I really like it. But do we wait? That's the question.
I don't think we do. I think this is I think this is going to gather strength.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll make that decision here because I could feel a little better drinking the juice at the 3 if I'm already on the double result at plus money. I feel like that. Okay, I'm all over. I'm not messing with the total here. I'm betting on the Colts.
Profile says over. Profile for this game says over.
Yeah, I believe that. And the Titans, their defense is not near. I don't believe is as good as the statistics indicate. Shout out to my guy Swiss Horton in the house.
They've been downtrending significantly too. Right now, there's a 3.5 at DK. You can't buy a half a point quite yet, but if you get a 3.5 minus 108, you might be able to get a 3 minus 125 potentially when that opens at DK, which will be the problem. So I might be on. I might wait a little bit, Jim.
I'm interested. I'm very interested. I'm moving on. I'm making moves this evening here. I'm making moves this evening. And then it's an interesting point here that Lil Domo is talking about. He's going to tie the Colts money line with the Ravens. I mean, I don't know how much I want to. I don't want to hit the $1,500 mark on this game. So I've got to decide what would be the best. But I do think that the Colts money line is an opportunity to tie in with different squads here. Okay. Let's roll on here, but I expect Troy to be making moves here shortly. I'm going to be making moves tonight. Yeah, I saw that, Slatsy. I saw that +1. I mean, line's moving towards the Titans. Look, I know the ceiling for Mason Rudolph, and you bump into it every time you stand up. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, LA Rams 8-6, 4-3 on the road. New York Jets 4-10, 2-4 at home. We're at MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. It is East Rutherford, New Jersey. That is the coldest kickoff. 22 Fahrenheit, sunny, 8 miles per hour. Now that can change here. There's my guy Ronnie Crawford in the house. Let's talk about the line movement here with the Rams Jets. We have the Rams right now -3. And minus 114. They opened up -3 at +104. So there's been a big move towards the Rams, 18-cent move towards the Rams. We saw Razor Sharp Picks betting a future on the Rams to win the Super Bowl, at a huge price. It was funny when he made that bet. I was thinking today, I was like, God, if the Rams played the Packers, I'd be on the Packers. I'm surprised that as a Packer fan, and that made me sit and think, okay, I've got to spend a little more time on it. And also, we just watched the Packers smash and grab, and obviously that's fresh in my memory. This total opened up at 47. It's dropped to 46 for Rams Jets. Let's get into the cash flow. Then for Rams Jets, we have 44% of tickets and 54% of the cash on the Jets, which is a surprise. This line's clearly moving towards the Rams. 72% of tickets and 83% cash on the over, and this has dropped a point to the under. Talk about the Rams passing offense, 9th in the league, 232.1 yards per game. It was very fascinating. All of your Puka Nacua talk, it made me laugh when you told us he was going to be in the Hall of Fame week 3 of his career, and I was like, Jesus, Troy. Good God, does he look spectacular. 7 catches for 97 yards when no other receiver catches for more than 21 yards, and Cooper Kupp had 0 catches on 3 targets. The rushing offense is 22nd in the league. You can see it's improving. And now we know that Kyron Williams is being a touchdown scorer constantly. But now they're starting to get yards, starting to get all-encompassing offense here. 22nd league, 105.8 yards per game. Red zone offense still being a bit of a struggle for reasons unbeknownst to me. 19th in the league, 53.9% of the time. You'd think it'd be a perfect red zone offense. Third down offense, 24th in the league. They only convert 35.8% of the time. That's also a surprise. Pass defense, 19th, 217.8 yards a game. They allow. Rush defense is 28th. They allow 135.4 yards per game. The red zone defense, 6th in the league at 50%. 50% of the time, they allow touchdowns. Third down defense, 18th, allowing conversions 39.5% of the time. They're coming off extra rest after defeating their rival, the 49ers, 12-6 in San Francisco last Thursday. 7th win over the last 9 games. 4 nights after winning the highest scoring game of the season, which of course is being eclipsed by the Lions' second game. The Rams won the only game this year that didn't have a touchdown. Secure their first season sweep against the Niners since 2018. Stafford 16-27 for 160 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Kyron ran 29 times for 108 yards, 29 carries. Rams were just 4-15 on third down and 0-3 in the red zone. How often have we been seeing that? This Rams defense was excellent. Held the 49ers just 191 total yards and just 3.6 yards per play. They didn't allow the Niners to run a play in the red zone. The Rams finished with 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. Darius Williams had an interception. And Nick Hampton, their linebacker, left in the second half with a chest injury. He tore his pectoral and is going to get season-ending surgery this week. Let's talk about the Jets. Passing offense, 18th, 217.3 yards per game. Rushing offense, 31st, 89.7. Red zone offense, 21st, 53.3. Third down offense, 12th. They convert 39.2% of the time. Their pass defense is 5th. They only allow 193.9 yards per game. 16th rush defense, 121.1. You know, reading these stats, you think, well, this is a pretty good football team. It's not the case. Their third down defense, 14th in the league. They allow conversions 37.4% of the time. Red zone defense, 20th at 60%. Coming in off a 32-25 victory at Jacksonville. Top 30 points for the first time this season. Aaron Rodgers, 16-30 for 289 total yards. 3 touchdowns, no picks. Ran 6 times for 45 yards. Devontae Adams caught 9 for 198 yards and 2 touchdowns. 12th player in NFL history with 100 receiving touchdowns. They've now connected for touchdowns 81 times, including the playoffs. That's the 4th most by a quarterback wide receiver duo in NFL history, and they're 1 short of Marino and Clayton. Breece Hall returned from injury, ran 9 times for 30 yards, a touchdown, caught 2 for 21. Jets offense put up 7.4 yards per play. They went 5 for 11 on 3rd and 4th down and went 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense allowed the weak Jaguar offense with Mac Jones at quarterback to put up 421 total yards. Jags went 8 of 15 on 3rd down and 2 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush was quiet, 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Jalen Mills and Sauce Gardner each had interceptions. That's Gardner's first of the year, but Jalen Mills left the game with a chest injury. Michael Carter, another safety is Jalen Mills. Michael Carter, cornerback, left the game with a back injury. So we'll get a better idea of what's going on when we see the Wednesday injury report. Take it away for us here, Troy. Rams, Jets.
Should have been on the Jets last week for similar reasons that I should be on the Rams this week, because road favorites in this price range, open and close 3.5, which is exactly where we're going to close here. It's going to be a 3 or a 3.5 unless somebody gets announced out, which I don't see anybody on the docket. Huge trends that favor the Rams and the under in this matchup. Rams are clearly the more motivated team with playoff hope still alive. I don't think there's that much of a need to go very deep into this one. The Jets, the defense is extremely vulnerable. That puts the under in doubt, in my opinion. The offense has looked better. I mean, it seems like they're starting to get their feet under the ground a little bit, but there's no way I want to trust them in this type of situation. And the Rams, they've been impressive lately, but I'm not sure it justifies the number. Still have issues on their O-line. Stafford playing way below expectations. He threw 2 picks in the first quarter last week in his own territory. One of them probably, if Hufanga dropped one right in his gut, gave him a gift, he probably would have ran for 6, but he dropped it. I mean, he's having a bad season. I know he had a great game versus the Bills, but look what Goff just did. I guess Goff always has a great game, but I don't want to buy high on the Rams. And it's hard to buy the under with my sentiment on this Jets defense. For right now, it's a pass, but I'm only looking towards the under and towards the Rams.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust this Rams group to play in 22 Fahrenheit temperatures. Not saying that I'm going to be on the Jets, but I just don't feel like that. Look, we know that Puka can. Puka's a monster, even if he's from Hawaii. I don't know. This guy, has his heart pounding through his uniform. We can see it. But I don't feel like this is the kind of road favorite I want. And also, it's clear that Aaron Rodgers now, with no pressure at all, is starting to play better. And he likes these cold temperatures. He's trying to get himself one more year, him and Adams one more year. I don't know. I just something just doesn't quite feel right here. Now, I mean, I don't know. Do you trust Stafford and co to play at 22 Fahrenheit temperatures and deliver across the continent?
No, I don't. I don't trust their offense to look like it would at home or in perfect conditions. No, not at all. That's why I was kind of starting to lean towards the under. Exactly that reason. But then you look at the Jets defense. It's just it's
problem. Yeah.
tough.
Huh. Okay. Dougie White says against the Jets, he does. Vincent Hawkins on the over. Again, this is a spot where statistically, watching the Jets play right now, I can understand why anybody would say, oh, this game's going to fly over. Look, Rodgers had his first 300-yard game in forever 2 weeks ago. Then he comes up with a 289-yard game. All of that being said, it's just doesn't seem the spot where I want to trust the road favorite to deliver. I'm not sure what to do, but I mean, this game's going to need more study. It's just going to need more study. So it's at least we'll have the Cappers contest show on Thursday. I'll sit with this all day tomorrow. So nothing for us here in Rams Jets as of Tuesday, December 17th.
Correct.
Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Philadelphia Eagles 12-2, 6-1 on the road to the Washington Commanders, 9-5, 5-2 at home at Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland. It's cold, 30 Fahrenheit, sunny, 9-mile-per-hour winds. I'm very thankful. I'm still angry that I was a week late. I told everyone, I was like, I'm going to bet the Eagles to win the NFC. They were 9-1, and I waited a week. Still got them at 6-1. But, I honestly, at this point, right this very second, I think, if the Super Bowl was this weekend kind of thing, like, I think they're the most likely team to win the Super Bowl at this point. And I know maybe people would, go off on that sentiment, but they just seem like the most complete package. And also, there are so many teams that have been decimated with injuries, and they have not been. Let's talk about the line history here. Philadelphia, this line continues to move towards Washington. They opened up plus 3.5, minus 106. When this moved to 3, I was like, oh God, what an opportunity this is. Now you can get this minus 3 at minus 111 offshore. Minus 3 at minus 111. A huge move towards the Commanders. And then I got the minus 120. At the time when I got the minus 120, I forget exactly what it was offshore. But it was a great deal I thought I was receiving for the Eagles. Let's get into the total here. My only 2 bets that I come to the show with was the Eagles minus 3 and that Eagles Ravens money line parlay. This total is at 45. It's minus 111 to the over. It's opened up at 46.5. We dropped a 1.5 to 45. Let's get to the cash flow here. Cash flow wise, 69% of tickets and 82% of the cash are on the Eagles. 76 and 73 are on the over. Before this year, Troy, this would be a situation that I would not bet. But as I've seen you cash in these situations, I'm no longer afraid of going up against the market this late in the season on a road favorite. Passing offense for the Eagles, 28th in the league, 187 yards per game. Rushing offense, first, 186.2. Red zone offense, 11th in the league. They score touchdowns 58.2% of the time. Their third down offense, 7th. They convert 44.8% of the time. No team allows less passing yards than the Eagles. They allow 173.4 yards per game. Rush defense, 7th. They only allow 102.2 on the ground. Red zone defense, 4th at 48.8% of the time. They allow touchdowns. Third down defense, 2nd at 34.1%. Do you remember those stats last year? Are we saying it's Fangio in his practices? How he stresses how important practice is. I mean, what
It's the cross match, dude. It's the cross match where you got guys on one side of the field that are manned up on the guys on the other side of the field. It confuses the shit out of quarterbacks.
He has done phenomenal work. Eagles coming off a dominant 27-13 victory at home over the Steelers. 10th straight win. Outgained the Steelers 401 to 163. 26 first downs. Pittsburgh only had 10. Jalen Hurts, 25 to 32, 290 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Also ran 15 times for 45 yards and touchdown. Did lose a fumble. He had not thrown for over 200 yards in 3 straight games. A.J. Brown caught 8 for 110 and a touchdown. Devonta Smith caught 11 for 109 yards and touchdown. Saquon ran 19 times for 65 yards. So it's second worst game of the year for Saquon. He did leave for most of the second quarter. Barkley still leads the NFL with 1,688 yards. He took that low hit from Minka and said he was fine. Barkley needs 418 yards over the final 3 games to top Eric Dickerson's 40-year-old NFL record. Dickerson ran for 2,105 yards for the Rams in 1984. Eagles dominated time of possession, 39-52 to 20-08. Held the Steelers to just 3 of 10 on third down, 1 of 2 in the red zone. Pass rusher, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Safety Sidney Brown suffered a concussion on a hit during the opening kickoff. He's in protocol, and left guard Landon Dickerson suffered a knee injury. He's listed as questionable. Let's talk about these Commanders. Passing offense 16th in the league, 218.4 yards per game. Rushing offense 3rd, 155.5 yards. Red zone offense 7th, 60.3% of the time they score touchdowns. Third down offense 6th, 44.9% of the time they convert. Very strong offense. Their defense is a problem. Now, they are 4th, allowing just 189.6 yards through the air, but they're 25th on the ground, allowing 132.1. Their red zone defense has been a problem all season long, 4th worst in the league, allowing touchdowns 65% of the time. And their third down defense, 22nd, they're allowing conversions 40.9% of the time. That was a very underwhelming 2019 victory of the Saints. All came down to the failed 2-point conversion for the Saints with no time left. Jaden Daniels, 25 to 31 for 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He also ran 11 times for 66 yards. Terry McLaurin caught 7 for 73 and 2 touchdowns. But the offense that went 10 of 18 on 3rd and 4th down averaged 4.4 yards per play. Now, they dominated time of possession, 40 minutes, 50 seconds to 19-10, 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense was strong. They held the Saints to just 3 of 11 on third down, 1 of 2 in the red zone. Pass rush had 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Sanders still had an interception. Zach Ertz left with concussion symptoms. He's in protocol. Tyler Biadazi was added to the injury report with an illness. He was ruled out before kickoff, their center. He's going to be good to go this Sunday. And Jeremy Chin got hurt in the 4th quarter. He's listed as questionable. Take it away for us here, Troy. The Eagles is the only thing I've done here. I've bet them -3. If I had waited, I would have got a better line. Tell me why I should not be concerned with this market move towards the Commanders. Take it away.
I'm right there with you. I got the Eagles -3. I got -120. So you even got a better number than me, I believe. But I'm going to be planning on betting this game some more, to be honest. My sentiment towards this Eagles team, you can call me biased, but since the very first episode of Bankroll Blitz, I've been bullish on this team. This is my horse this season. To win the NFC, to win the Super Bowl, all that. They have all the elements of a championship caliber team. They're great in the trenches. I feel like they have great coaching, especially defensively, and they have a very talented quarterback, despite how the league perceives him at this point. There's some metrics with Jalen Hurts and some of the throws and some of the things he does as a quarterback that's very impressive. I love the way he's able to throw the ball sideline to sideline. Now, he has his issues. Some things do not look that clean. But I do think that they have all the elements that you need. And I did back the Commanders this past week, but I've been saying for months, like generally speaking, this team is a fade. They only average 4.4 yards per play versus a Saints team. I mean, the Commanders have not been a good down-to-down football team since week 8, except for one game where they ran the ball at will. That won't be the case this week. The offensive play calling and the coaching offensively is way out of line. It was this past week, like completely out of line. I could not believe what I was watching. And if the Saints held this Commanders team to 20 points and 4.4 yards per play, which is a full yard under the league average, I believe the Eagles are going to do the exact same. And I talked about the cross match. Rookies are not going to perform well against this defense. Not at all. You got an elite linebacker play between Nakobe Dean, who I harped on for weeks. Well, he's came full circle because Andy's a great QB spy. Both linebackers have a lot of speed. Both could spy the quarterback. Both can play in coverage. Defensively, the Commanders, they're exploitable. I mean, they grade out as 30th in the NFL per PFF. They're terrible on third down. They're terrible in the red zone. They're 28th in yards allowed per carry. All of this with the easiest. Is it the easiest? The second easiest strength of schedule in the entire NFL. Yeah, there's the strength of schedule year to date. They're 32nd. So I think this is going to be exactly what we've seen out of this Eagles team for a few weeks now. It's going to be trickle. Come late in the game, they're going to start leaning a little bit more, and the flood's going to hit. I'm on the Eagles -3. I got the Commanders team total under 21.5. Got -115 on that. And I got the Eagles Ravens money line parlay.
If this was week 4, I would be on the Commanders. But it's week 16. And I'm not going to trust a home dog. I don't care if it moves towards them. I don't care if the Sharps move towards them. And that's what I've learned from you, Troy. So I thank you, regardless of the outcome. This is Eagles for me, and all the Sharps in the world can be on the Commanders and think they're getting a discount and all of that. But this is week 16.
The illusion of value. The illusion of value.
But week 4, week 3, I would want the Commanders in this spot. I would think that we can take advantage of what we saw last week. The only advantage we can take of what we saw last week is now expecting it to continue because it's that late in the season. Whereas, even 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was saying, don't believe what you just saw. It's too late in the season now. It's time to believe what you just saw. I'm on the Eagles with you. Eagles, Ravens, moneyline parlay. I'm not sure exactly what else this is going to be. Brady says, shouldn't this line be like -6? Eagles already beat Washington by 8 this season. Yes, it should be. And the Sharps are going to be on the Commanders. The Sharps are going to say this is opening up. They're opening up. The books are opening up their arms to the Eagles.
This line should be 2.5 because they were home favorites of just 3 when they played in the first matchup. Now they're road favorites of 3.5. I think it makes sense.
True as well. That's true as well. I don't. Yeah. So look, anybody who wants the home dog at this price this late in the season. Oh, Sharps are on Washington. We know that, Brady. Yeah, we know that. Go ahead. Take them. If this is about feeling smart, go ahead and feel smart. I want to make money. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. 1 p.m. Eastern. Arizona Cardinals 7-7, 2-4 on the road at the Carolina Panthers 3-11, 2-6 at home at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. 40 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 6 mile per hour winds. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have a total of 46.5. This opened up at 45.5, and it climbed up to 47.5 until there was buyback. But we have a 1-point move towards the over. On the point spread here, we have Carolina. Well, it's, there's 4s, there's 4.5s. It sort of depends what you're looking at, what book. At the 3.5 line, which is where it opened, Arizona is -3.5, -106. There's just been a constant move towards Arizona to the -116. That's just 10 cents of movement at the sharpest book. Not too much, When we get to the cash flow here for this one, 60% of the tickets, 63% of the cash is on Arizona. That's a little less than I thought. I expected more. Maybe that will come in later. 70% of the tickets, 58% cash on the over. We'll start with the Cardinals. Passing offense 21st, 209.9 yards per game. Rushing offense 7th, 141.5. Red zone offense 21st. They score touchdowns 53.3% of the time, and their third down offense 9th at 43% of the time. Their passing defense 18th. Their rush defense 18th. They allow quite a bit of yards. 217 through the air, 121.4 on the ground. The red zone defense has been strong all year, 5th in the league, allowing touchdowns 49% of the time. But their third down defense has been an enormous problem this year. Third worst in the NFL, allowing conversions 44.6% of the time. Arizona comes in off a 30-17 home victory over the Patriots, snapped their 3-game losing streak. I said on the show, I'm going to wait, and I'm going to move on the Cardinals, and I didn't. And it just still just bothers me enormously, leaving money on the table like that. Kyler Murray was 23 of 30 for 224 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Trey McBride continues to dominate, led receivers with 9 catches for 87 yards. James Conner had 16 carries for 110 yards, 2 touchdowns while catching 5 for 28. Offense went 10 of 15 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. The defense was strong throughout, despite early injuries to linebackers. They lost Mac Wilson Sr. to a concussion and Jesse Luketa to a thigh injury. They were both hurt on the 4th and 5th plays of the game, respectively. And they still held the Patriots to 0 of 6 on third down, 1 of 2 on 4th. Patriots did go 2 of 3 in the red zone. The Patriots finished with 311 total yards, but mean, none of that. I mean, it was almost all of it came in the fourth quarter when the game was over. Pass rush had 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Sean Murphy Bunting had an interception. Quarterback Max Shelton left in the second quarter. He came back. Trey Benson also. I think he was on the injury report, one of them, but he should be fine. It was a shin injury. Trey Benson left in the fourth quarter. They're both Max Melton and Trey Benson are listed as questionable for this week. Let's talk about back just before we move on to the Panthers, though. Mac Wilson Sr. and Jesse Luketa are very important pieces here, and I know that they handled it with aplomb at home. Might be a little different to handle missing 2 linebackers on the road, so that Wednesday injury report's crucial. For the Panthers, passing offense 29th, 186 yards per game, rushing offense 24th, 102.9. Red zone offense 15th. They score touchdowns 56.4% time. Third down offense 28th, 34.7. Passing defense is 12th. They allow 213.2 yards per game, but that's just because they played from behind so often this year. No team allows more rushing yards than the Panthers, 173 yards per game. Red zone defense 26th. They allow touchdowns 64.4% of the time. Their third down defense is last in the league. They allow conversions 47.8% of the time. Coming off very disappointing 30-14 loss at home versus Cowboys, outgained 410 to 235. Bryce Young did not play well. 19 of 28 for 219 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He also ran 3 times for 12 yards and a touchdown. He lost 2 fumbles in the game, and the crucial one was early in the game in the red zone. The offensive line that had been a strong suit allowed Young to get sacked 6 times. Is that because the Cowboys, pass rush is still very good, especially with an angry Micah? Or is this offensive line, because, they've been such a strong suit. The 6 sacks were the most of the Panthers allowed all season. But yes, Bryce Young 4 and 21 now as a starter. Jalen Coker caught 4 for 110 yards and touchdown. Chuba ran 10 times for 32 yards. The Cowboys said that it was their whole plan was to shut down Chuba, and they did it. The defense couldn't get stops. The Cowboys put up 5.9 yards per play. Cowboys won 6 of 12 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush struggled, 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits, and Xavier Leggett, their first-round pick, left the game in the third quarter with a groin injury, and he's week to week, so he's going to be ruled out any minute here. Take it away for us here, Troy, because I don't think that this is a good place for the Cardinals, 40 Fahrenheit in Charlotte. I do think Carolina can bounce back. I'm still just a little hesitant to make a move. Take it away. Floor is yours. Cards, Panthers, Bank of America Stadium.
I struggle with this one as well and I start to think, again, I'm starting to lean all dogs. Right now I have all favorites. All favorites right now are sitting on my card. They were last week as well. But even with all the favorites I was on last week, I made 148 spread bets this season. 78 of them were dogs. That's 53% of the plays I've made on the spread were underdogs. And here I am shilling a bunch of favorites because this game really doesn't capture my interest, generally speaking, but I don't know where the Panthers go from here. They're definitely not really incentivized to tank like some of these other teams are. The defense gave up 410 yards to the Cowboys, who ran the ball for 5.3 yards per carry. This is another spot where I think the Panthers will likely be the sharp side, but my data tells me it's clearly the Cardinals are past. Cardinals still have a fighting chance to make the playoffs. How is this team going to stop the run? How are they going to, whenever they play weak run defenses, just a few off the top of my head. If you count the Bears in there too, at that time, I don't know if we would consider the run defense weak, but what they became after that game, maybe that's where it started. They dropped 30 plus points, like the Patriots. They had 30 points, the Jets, the Bears, and I don't know if there's any other teams that really are that bad at run defense, but the Panthers certainly are right there. It's got to be Cardinals for me. I can't be on the Panthers this week.
One important thing that happened was Canales backed Bryce Young after a bad football game. And I think Bryce Young needed to hear it. Canales talked about that he saw the fire in Young's eyes after the game and that's crucial. Not saying that's enough for me to get on the Panthers, but do you trust Kyler in cold temperatures? Now, it's not 25 degrees, but it's 40. It's cold. It's cold. These Cardinals.
I can't get out of my mind Tampa Bay and Bucky Irving, in the second half when they came out and they just ran the ball at will. Then you watch what happened with the Cowboys game last week. They were just being able to just create these huge lanes where they're running untouched for 2-3 yards. I don't know. It's just a tough spot. I don't know if I trust Kyler Murray. I don't know much about how he performs in these situations.
Birdie's model also says cards, but he says no play for him. If this line keeps climbing, he'll bet the Panthers. Otherwise, easy pass. I guess this is a pass spot. I feel like I'm going to have enough action here. I'm going to spend more time on it. I don't want to just the Panthers care right now, but so do the Cardinals. And that was a big point. I questioned whether the Cowboys cared, but they showed that they did. I think Micah was a big part of that. Micah leaving the field early 2 weeks ago, now it shows that this guy just wanted it so badly, even though I still don't like it. I'm going to need more time here. Just a quick touch on the total here. I know that the Panthers defense is a problem, but opened up at 45.5, climbed up to 47.5. That's such a crucial number. I know why it was bet to the under at that point. But you agree with this 1 point move to the over?
I don't know if I have a strong feeling on this total. I feel like 47 is a pretty high number for a Panthers game. It's tough. It's tough again. It's a tough game that I really did not. It's not a game that captured my interest that I was like very captivated to handicap. And ultimately, I just decided like there's way better spots to attack.
Saturated says who's playing defense here. I get it, but the conditions aren't perfect for offense, but I get it. Okay, let's roll on. Omer, great to see you, my man. Omer joining us from France. Let's move on to afternoon action. Those are all the 1 p.m. games on Sunday. Head to afternoon action, and we start 4:05 p.m. Eastern with the Minnesota Vikings 12-2, 5-1 on the road. Seattle Seahawks 8-6, 3-5 at home at Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. 49 Fahrenheit, cloudy, just 1 mile per hour winds. Pretty nice weather on the West Coast. It's hot in LA this weekend, so it's just on the East that's freezing. Let's get into the line history here for Vikings Seahawks. We have the total at 42.5. It is juiced to the over. There's been a 1 cent move on the over, so it's not moved off that 42.5 number. Let's get the point spread up here from a point spread perspective. We have Minnesota -3 at -109. They opened up -3 at -108. There's been a 1 cent move towards them. Let's get to the cash flow here for our first afternoon game on Sunday. 34% of the tickets and 70% of the cash is on the Seattle Seahawks plus the points. 82% of the tickets, 93% of the cash is on the over. Vincent Hawkins, like in the Seahawks team total under. Fireside says, how is this a 3? I'm not nearly as high on the Vikings as others. Not at all. Now, I'm not saying that I want to fade them in that first playoff game in Minnesota. Vincent Hawkins says Howell is a turnover machine. It doesn't matter, what Howell is. Geno Smith is going to be at quarterback here.
Yeah, that's the last time we might ever see Sam Howell play quarterback. I'm telling you, that was the worst performance I've ever seen. It really was.
But Geno Smith, just to go back to that, tests performed on Smith's right knee were great, and they're going to see him practice throughout the week. So no concern. Well, I guess there could be a tiny bit of concern, but they're trying to squash that, and we expect Geno on the field for the Seahawks. Let's talk about the Vikings first, though. Passing offense, 8th in the league, 236.6 yards per game. Rushing offense, 15th, 113.2 yards per game. What a relief. What a relief. I'm not there anymore. Red zone offense, 9th, 58.8% of the time they score touchdowns. Third down offense, 11th. They allow conversion. They convert on third down, 41.7% of the time. Their passing defense is 29th. That's been broken down with Flores' plan. Troy's explained it, why they allow a lot of yards through the air, 244.9, just 89.1 on the ground. That's second best in the league. Their red zone defense, 13th in the league, 52.5% of the time they allow touchdowns. Their third down defense is 4th at 34.4%. Jim Duiger on Seattle here. Vikings coming off their 7th straight win, 30-12 at home over the Bears. They're now tied atop the NFC North with the Lions. Darnold was 24-40 for 231 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He's been excellent this year. And Jefferson and Addison are just a very formidable duo. Jefferson caught 7 for 73 and a touchdown. Addison caught 7 for 63. Aaron Jones ran 18 times for 86 yards and a touchdown, caught 2 for 20. The offense was just 7 of 14 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. The defense was excellent. Held the Bears to 2 of 15 on third and fourth down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush had 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits. Stephon Gilmore missed a second straight game with a hamstring injury. Stephon Gilmore's absence will hurt a lot more against the Seahawks than it would against the Bears. Let's talk about the Seahawks here. Passing offense, 5th in the league, 240.4 yards per game. Rushing offense, 28th to 94.3. Red zone offense, 24th in the league. They score touchdowns 52.8% of the time. Their third down offense, 17th, 37.5%. Their offense has not been very good this year. Their pass defense, 13th, 213.6 yards per game. Rushing defense, 22nd. They allow 127.5. Red zone defense, 11th, 52%. And their third down defense, 15th at 38.3%, allowing opponents to convert 38.3% of the time. The Seahawks defense has looked much, much stronger, after the bye week when Mike McDonald got a hold of them. But they just had their 4-game winning streak snapped in an ugly 30-13 loss at home to Green Bay. That was, of course, overshadowed by the Geno Smith knee injury, which we've been told is not too big of a deal. He was 15 and 19 for 149 yards, no touchdowns and a pick before he left the game. It was Geno's 13th interception of the season and 4th in the end zone, which is a problem. But Sam Howell came in and looked horrific. 5 of 14 for 24 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. This is the Oluwatimi, their center. He got hurt near the end of the first half, and the Seahawks fell apart. So he's their center. He's listed as questionable this week. The Seahawks allowed 7 sacks in that game, and it all happened when Olu was out after he got hurt. Now, he's dealing with knee and pectoral injuries. He is such a crucial piece to this puzzle. They need him in. He's a big boy, and he's having a really strong run, and they need him in. And we saw the Seahawks offensive line completely fall apart without him. Jackson Smith to Jigba had 10 receptions for 83 yards. Kenneth Walker out for a second straight week with a calf injury. Charbonnet ran 8 times for 54 yards, and the touchdown caught a 12-yard pass. And Walker remains questionable this week. The Seahawks offense only gained 208 yards and just 3.7 yards per play. 4-13 on third down, 0-1 in the red zone. The defense struggled throughout. Packers put up 369 total yards, 6 yards per play. Packers went 5 of 12 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush failed to record a sack, but did get 6 quarterback hits on Jordan Love. So take it away for us here, Troy. And I'm not that high on the Vikings, and maybe it's a terrible mistake. Take it away for us, Vikings Seahawks.
Whoever was on the Vikings, I'm sure there's a bunch of sharps out there that were on the Vikings, but probably all season long. But I'm right there with you. I've been wanting to fade the Vikings, and it's really hard to do that. Well, this is a weird situation. It brings a little nuance when you have a matchup where you faded one team and backed the other in the previous week and cashed both of them. So immediately it's hard for me to even think about fading the Seahawks after fading them and then watching what proceeded to happen. The Seahawks offensive line versus this pass rush, this blitz package, Geno Smith versus this Flores defense. I could see the confusion now. And it's not even freaking Wednesday yet. The 8-6 Seahawks open as a home dog of 3 points. I mean, that immediately puts a target on the back. You look at Lumen Field, that home field advantage, the 12th man. Did you hear the chants? Let's go, Pack. Let's go, Pack. The NFC North has been dominant, man. It's so hard. There's no way I'm going to have any money on the Seahawks in this matchup. The Seahawks defense has been great, but a lot of that greatness has been versus mediocre quarterback play. They've been pretty bad versus we haven't really seen them versus elite quarterback play. And if anything, Jordan Love was the closest that they've seen this new defense that has been so good over the past few weeks. And they've been it's really hard to decipher what we're going to see in this situation. I'm not talking about we have a elite quarterback. This is an average quarterback, but he has a lot of options. There's a high profile offense, high profile weapons around them. I'll be watching this market closely, but there's no way I'm going to end up on the Seahawks in this matchup.
Let's go over the Vikings road games here. They've been at home for 3 straight weeks. Last saw them at the Bears. They won by 3, beat the Titans by 10, beat the Jaguars by 5. lost to the Rams, beat the Packers by 2. They beat up on the Giants in week 1. I mean, I just not as high on them here.
Is the play in the game the under? I mean, I feel like that might be a really good look. The database definitely screams under. We're looking at a total that's under the 43, under the 44, starting to tick down. We got a lot of action on the over.
Yeah. There's a couple things here. I need to know that the Seahawks have their starting center. So that's going to be a key to all of this. I guess if Oluwatimi is not out there, that the idea would be that the under would be more appealing.
Yeah, the bad snap in the red zone. We've seen it before.
Yeah. I'm going to need a little bit more time on this one. Jared TG says, I'm a Vikings fan. I understand why you aren't that high on them. I don't think they're going to hold up against the best team. Don't think Seattle is in that tier, though.
Here we go. Here we go. I'm moving on the under right now.
Wow. All right, Troy, moving on the under. I'm very interested moving on the under. So you got what, 42.5?
And the reason I don't like the side as much as I like the under is because you just see in this home dog 3.5, you see out of conference, it adds a little bit more complexity, a smaller sample. And it's not nothing that I think is something I like to jump at when it's in conference in division where you see it all the time. The sample shrinks a lot out of conference. Like usually there's, a home dog of less than 3 or bigger than 6. You don't see this very often. So, but the under is very solid in this range and going under by margin.
Well, I'm interested. I'm not sure if I'm moving on tonight, but I'm very interested in it. That is Vikings Seahawks. Let's roll on. Next 4 p.m. game, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, with the New England Patriots 3-11, 2-6 on the road. Buffalo Bills 11-3, 6-0 home at Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. I shouldn't have said that East Rutherford is the coldest because it's not. Buffalo is the coldest, 18 Fahrenheit. Snow showers, but just 2 mile-per-hour winds. 2 teams that are used to playing in the cold. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Let's get into the total. 46.5 minus 115 to the under. This opened up minus 107 to the under. There's been 8 cents of movement to the under. This got up to minus 117 to the under. The initial move was towards the over, but this evening there was a move to the under, a big one. Between 10:36 a.m., the under 46.5 was minus 102. At 5:24 p.m., it was minus 117. So there's been 2 cents of buyback. That's pretty interesting, especially after what we watched the Bills just do in back-to-back weeks. This spread is 14. Bills are minus 14 at minus 107. Open up minus 14, minus 106. Let's get to the cash flow then for it. We have 18% of tickets, 20% of the cash on the Patriots, 69% of tickets, and 84% of cash on the over. Vincent Hawkins looking at the Bills team total over. Dougie Wise saying very sharp line here. Talk about the Patriots passing offense. Nobody gains less yards through the air this year than the Patriots, even with the gunslinger Drake May back there. 32nd league, 173.2 yards per game. Rushing offense, 14th at 119.3. Ron Crawford says, wait for the Kansas City results Saturday before betting Buffalo. That's an interesting take there. Will Buffalo need to win to keep this close? That's a very interesting call from our guy, Ronnie Crawford. Rushing offense, 14th, 119.3 yards per game. Red zone offense, 30th. They only score touchdowns 46.3% of the time. Their third down offense, 29th. They only get first downs on 34.3% of opportunities. I can completely understand why Birdie's on the Patriots, but I wanted to talk this out a little more. Passing defense, 16th, 216.7 yards a game. They allow rush defense, 21st. They allow 127.4 on the ground. Red zone defense, 23rd. They allow touchdowns 62% of the time. And their third down defense, 24th. They allow conversions 42.4% of the time. Jim W. Putt says, Buffalo knows this is a W, but every team has a letdown spot. Says, no way would he give 14 here, but the Pats are not good enough to lose. Are not good, but good. Oh, sorry. But the Pats are not good, but good enough to lose by 8, says Jim W. Putt here. Let's talk about Patriots coming off their 4th straight loss. Ugly 30-17 setback at Arizona. Held to 3 points through 3 quarters. Scored 14 points, gained half their yards in that final quarter when the game was out of reach. Drake May was very upset after the game. The Patriots were very upset after the game. Drake May was 19-23 for 22 yards, touchdown, interception. He also ran 4 times for 14 yards and a touchdown. Kendrick Bourne led receivers with 3 catches for 44 yards. Ramondre Stevenson ran 13 times for 69 yards, caught a 16-yard pass, but they went 0 of 6 on third down. The defense allowed the Cardinals to go 10 of 15 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. It's this pass rush. I mean, it was completely non-existent. And if you're going to have no pass rush whatsoever against Josh Allen, what chance do you possibly have? Cole Strange was activated from IR, but he was inactive Sunday. That's going to be a huge help to Drake May if he will be activated because they've opened up that window. And then linebacker Christian Ellis is in concussion protocol. Let's go into the Bills here. 7th passing offense, 238.8 yards per game. Rushing offense, 9th, 130.8. Red zone offense, 3rd. They score touchdowns 68.9% of the time. Their third down offense, 8th. They allow conversions 43.8% of the time. Passing defense is 25th. They're allowing 227.8 yards per game through the air. The rush defense 14th, allowing 117.7 on the ground. The red zone defense 18th. They score touchdowns 58.5% of the time. Their third down defense 26th. They allow conversions 43.5% of the time. I did not expect their defense to be this bad. I know we've talked about sort of the shock at seeing how small they are, but I still did not expect them to be this bad defensively. Bills coming off a wild 48-42 victory at Detroit. Offense put up 559 yards, 8.2 yards per play. They extended their franchise record 30-plus points. They've now scored 30-plus points in 8 straight games. They're the first team to do that in the NFL since 2013. It's 2013 Broncos. Josh Allen was 23-34 for 362 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He also ran 11 times for 68 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he extended a league record by throwing for multiple touchdowns and rushing for multiple touchdowns. So throwing multiple touchdowns, rushing multiple touchdowns. That's 6th time in his career he's done that. That's a league NFL record. Ty Johnson caught 5 passes out of the backfield for 114 yards. When I saw Ty Johnson doing that, I'm like, oh my God, is this just another weapon? Jesus. James Cook ran 14 times for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 of 11 on 3rd and 4th down, 5 of 7 in the red zone. As good as the offense looked, the defense has now allowed 40 points in back-to-back games. They joined the 1966 New York Giants as the only team in NFL history. Now the Bills are joining them, so there's 2, to score 40-plus points and give up 40-plus points in consecutive games. Only one other team's ever done that before. Lions went 9 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down, 5 of 5 in the red zone, put up 473 yards through the air. 473 yards through the air. Pass rush had 3 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. Curtis Samuel with the shoulder injury, he's hurt, listed as questionable this week. Matt Milano went down with a groin injury. Offensive tackle Spencer Brown went down as well. They're all listed as questionable. They played without Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin, so Hamlin was replaced by Cole Bishop out of Utah, the 2nd-round pick, and Cole Bishop hurt his leg. So tomorrow is a crucial day for the injury report. But let's say Rapp, Hamlin are out. Cole Bishop is out. How do you not take the Patriots to stay within 14 points? Take it away for us here, Troy. Patriots, Bills.
Yeah, I'm going to let the market, I'm going to let the bookies dictate my action. I'm right there with you. These double-digit home favorites in division do not perform well. Now we're looking at a little bit bigger. So I'll go through double-digit home favorites and we'll narrow it down to 13 or bigger, which is a 7 and a 6, obviously. So double-digit home favorites in division, 11-6 ATS, 12-5 to the over. After week 10, they're just 3-10 ATS, 10-3 to the over. But if you look at when the spread is 13 or bigger, 4-6 ATS, 7-2 to the over. So the home teams are not performing well. It is a small sample, so it could be an aberration, this big number, trying to get any action, if any, on the Patriots at all. And honestly, I want to be backing the Patriots in this spot. The problem is on the road, this offense is not like it is at the house in New England. It's completely different on the road. You could tell they struggle much more frequently. And just go look at the recent history on the road. It's not been good. And then you look, I see all these over trends. Then I think, okay, how can we get on the over? But then I talk about the Patriots on their offense has been terrible on the road. You look at the Bills, last 2 games were indoors. Absolute shootouts with tight spreads. Now at home, laying double digits in the tundra. It would have to be, I don't think I'd be interested in the over. Maybe, Obviously, perfect case scenario would be Patriots team total over, but maybe this is an aberration than the rule of thumb. Not a game I've moved on, but a game I'm considering Patriots or the over.
That's interesting. I'm interested in both of those spots here. And this whole storyline of what happens after teams play the Lions, put a line through it now. It's all of those monsters on defense are on the sidelines. And I said, we both said to put a line through it in the last week because it wasn't a week. The Packers had 10 days off. Do you think the Packers suffered it all after playing the Lions? I think that stat only works if the Lions have all of their monsters on defense and are punishing, and the line of scrimmage is trench warfare. Look at the roster they're putting out there. The line of scrimmage is no longer trench warfare. Spenny Penny Bombs like in the over. I have interest in the over. I really want the wind to be involved here because we know that even when it doesn't say snow showers, there can be snow showers. So, but there's no wind. I'm interested in both the Patriots and the over. I'm going to need to sit with this for a little longer. Omar says that Bills typically destroy bad teams, and believe me, this Pats team is bad, he says. Ziggy Ball says, I like the Patriots against Thread, a huge letdown spot after being Lions teams. And
Jimmy, I got an average result. I have a 7-game sample, which I think is the most indicative. It's after week 10 in division, double-digit home favorites. The average point scored is 50.75, so 51 points, and the average total close is just 41. So we got these games flying over, and these are teams that play outdoors. The Bills Patriots of week 17 actually fit this profile. That was the only game in the entire sample. No, it went over by 8 points. Excuse me. Nope, it's over. Never mind. This is an over. Like I'm starting to talk myself into an over here.
But I don't think we need to move on it right now.
Yeah.
This is going to move to the under. Omar Godet says, I believe me, I've been in that stadium. Wind is a nightmare. Swirls bad. Right now, it's 2 miles per hour. 2 miles per hour, excuse me, is expected to be the wind here.
Birdie, do you like the over?
I don't see how we would. I think we need everybody to get caught up in the temperature and the snow. And then we can talk to some of. We got a bunch of cappers here, even in the chat, that are from Buffalo. We'll talk to the guys who are boots up on the ground.
Let's see the Bills specifically at home, because if I can go back, I wish we, maybe at the end of the show I'll touch on, because I actually put a pretty big bet in on the under in the Seahawks Vikings. But let me take a look at the Bills at home. We know they lay a lot of points quite frequently. You can go ahead, Jim. I'm going to look this up.
I will do just that. And we have a question about the team total here for the Patriots, which is, a look that makes a ton of sense to me. The Patriots team total right now offshore 16.5 minus 120 to the under. Let's just see what it is here at 365. The Patriots team total is the same deal, 16.5. Now, this is heavily juiced to the under at 16.5. The over is plus 105 here. And yeah, Jim saying the Bills don't need a blowout in New England in this game. 17 backdoors wide open here. I'm very interested in this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Rick J says Bills first half if he can get -7 or better. I can understand that look too. Okay, that was a fun one. Let's move on to one that may not be as enjoyable. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars 3-11, 1-6 on the road at Las Vegas Raiders, 2-12, 1-5 at home at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's get into the line history here for Jacksonville, Vegas. We have a total at 39. You see 39.5 on the board. This 39 is juiced heavily to the over. This didn't come out, this Jacksonville, Vegas, until 9:24 a.m. today offshore at this book, the Sharp book that I'm looking at. And since then, there's been 11 cents of movement to the over. But that's the only move that's happened. There's been one move, it moved 11 cents to the over, and they haven't touched it since then. From a point spread perspective, we have Pick'em, Vegas -1 at -103. So why don't we take a look at the money line thing that might give us a better tail? Again, this line hasn't been out for very long. We have Las Vegas -109. They opened up at -101. They got up to plus 108. So there was a 9-cent move against them. Then there was a 17-cent move on them from plus 108 to minus 109. So very, very interesting line movement here. Vincent Hawkins says over if O'Connell plays. O'Connell's playing. Now the quote is he's from Pierce is he's trending upwards to play, but we all expect Aiden O'Connell to be a quarterback for Las Vegas here. And Jaguars, Raiders, let's get into this. We'll start with the Jags. Passing offense 22nd, 204.4 yards per game. Rushing offense 25th, 101.6 yards per game. Their red zone offense is 17th, 54.5%. Their third down offense 26th. They convert 35.2% of the time. Their pass defense, no team allows more yards than the Jaguars, 264.3 a game. Rush defense, 24th. They allow 132.1. Their red zone defense, 22nd, allowing touchdowns 60.8% of the time. Their third down defense is 29th, 44.5% of the time. They allow conversions. Bad defense. They're coming off a 32-25 loss at home to the Jets. Mac Jones is pretty good. 31-46, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He also ran 4 times for 29 yards. Brian Thomas Jr. had 10 catches for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. See his first round pick this year for the Jags. He broke 2 single season team rookie records. He beat Justin Blackman's franchise mark of 865 yards receiving. That was back in 2012. And he got his 7th touchdown pass, which broke the tie that he had with Alan Hearns in 2014. Brendan Strange caught 11 passes for 73 yards. Etienne ran 14 times for 65 yards, caught 4 for 20 yards. He better step up because he might not have a career in the NFL if he doesn't step up, man. Jaguars put up 421 total yards of offense. 8 of 15 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone, but the defense was weak. The Jets put up 7.4 yards per play. That's the first time the Jets have gone 30 plus all season long. Jets went 2 of 3 in the red zone, and the Jaguars pass rush was quiet. 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits. Let's talk about these Raiders. Passing offense 15 to 21.1, rushing offense worse than league at 78.1, but this rushing offense has looked better a little bit with Abdullah at least catching the ball out of the backfield. I mean, it's still the worst rushing offense in the league. Don't get me wrong, but I think Abdullah can be dangerous. Their red zone offense, 29th, 47.2% of the time they score touchdowns. Third down offense, third worst in the league. They only convert 33.9% of the time. Their passing defense, 9th. They allow 208.3 yards per game. Rushing defense, 17th, 121.2. Red zone defense, 23rd, allowing touchdowns 62% of the time. Their third down defense, 21st. They allow conversions 40.7% of the time. Raiders coming off that 15-9 loss at home to the Falcons. They've trailed by double digits in all 14 games this season. That's wild. Desmond Ridder, 23 of 39 for 208 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. He also ran 5 times for 28 yards. But we expect O'Connell to be in the lineup, and so does Antonio Pierce. Jacoby Myers led receivers with 5 catches for 59 yards. Abdullah caught 7 for 58 in a touchdown. Now he also ran 3 times for 8 yards. They were just 4-14 on third down. The Raiders' offense was held to just 3.8 yards per play, but they cashed their lone red zone opportunity. The defense tried to keep the Raiders in it, held the Falcons to 4-13 on third down, and didn't allow the Falcons to run a single play in the red zone. And it was their first game without Max Crosby, who underwent the season-ending ankle surgery over the weekend. They had 3 sacks, and Robert Spillane had an interception. Now, Sincere McCormick is gone. He recently was a starter, ankle injury in the second quarter. There was no update today, but he said on his own Instagram that he plans to be back next season. And I somehow got that information without being on Instagram, as I've never been on Instagram in my entire life. Take it away for us here, Troy Torrence, Jaguars, Raiders.
Hey, our guy Robert Martin has a wooden nickel. Did you ever see a wooden nickel before? I'd love to flip a wooden nickel to decide who to pick in this game. 2 teams that are clearly in the tank. I want nothing to do with them. I mean, the Raiders, you don't have 3 kicks blocked, 2 punts and an extra point blocked, in my opinion, without tanking it. I can't. When's the last time you've had 3 kicks blocked in the same game? I bet you have to go back years, decades to find a spot. You don't start Desmond Ridder at quarterback unless you're tanking. I think that both coaches, in theory, should want to win, right, for future employmentship. But ownership certainly doesn't want these teams to win in these situations. This is a clear 50-50 spot, in my opinion. I think the line is perfectly set. If I had to pick a side, I think the better team is the Jaguars at this point, but I'm not going to put my money behind it. I want nothing to do with this game, Jim. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I can understand that. I can understand that. I don't.
I guess if there's anything I would call out, it's that the sharp action absolutely gets obliterated when you got two teams that are grayed out in the bottom 10 in the league up against each other with this pick'em range. I mean, it's clearly a 50-50 spot on the spread, no matter how you look at it. Total, line movement, doesn't matter. You're looking 50-50 basically everything. But the sharp action, 22% ATS, 44% on the money line.
Wow. That's a bum fight of the lowest quality. And I don't think that you need, with a 16-game schedule, do you really need to sit here and grind away for an angle when there's lots of angles on this card? I don't know if it's necessary. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, San Francisco 49ers 6-8, 2-4 on the road at the Miami Dolphins 6-8, 4-3 at home. Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the year these two teams would both be 2 games under 500 when they meet in the Week 16, I would have my jaw would have hit the ground. 70 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history for this one, because the line history really surprised me. A very legit market move towards the San Francisco 49ers. They open up plus 2.5, minus 117. They close plus 1.5, minus 106. Not close, but that's where they are now. I'm just very surprised that this line was moving towards the Niners. They opened up on the money line at plus 114. They got up to plus 122. Then this morning, they were down to plus 103. They're back at plus 108. So that shows just 6 cents of movement, much less movement, because that opening 2.5 was heavily juiced to the Niners. So it's not even a full point move, really. But it is fascinating. When I'm looking around the marketplace, there are books that have there are dogs everywhere, but it's getting less and less. Let's get to the cash flow here for this Niners spot. 73% of the tickets on the spread on the Niners and 38% of the cash. On the money line, 40% of the tickets are on the Niners and 64% of the cash. 69% of the tickets and 76% of the cash on the over. We'll start with the 49ers here. Passing offense 10th to 31.6 yards per game. Rushing offense 8th at 133.5 yards per game. Red zone offense 23rd. They score touchdowns 52.9% of the time. Third down offense 10th. They convert 42.3% of the time. Passing defense 2nd. They allow 181 yards through the air. Rush defense 15th, 117.8. Red zone defense has just been an atrocity all season long. 3rd worst in the league, 67.4%. Third down defense 25th. They allow conversions 42.5% of the time. 49ers coming off a disappointing 12-6 loss at home versus the Rams. It's the 4th time this season that the Niners lost to a division opponent after holding a lead by at least 3 points in the 4th quarter. That is so rare. A team has not done that since 2000. It was the Patriots and Bill Belichick's first year. The Niners didn't score a touchdown in the game for the first time since 2019. Of course, that was the only game this year that didn't feature a single touchdown. Niners offense, 191 yards, 3.6 yards per play. Brock Purdy with 14 and 31 for 142 yards and an interception. Kittle caught 4 for 61. Isaac Guerrero had 16 carries for 57 yards, 3 of 12 on third down. Didn't run a single play in the red zone. The defense tried to keep them in it. Held the Rams to 4-15 on third down. 0-3 in the red zone. Pass rush didn't register a sack, but had 5 quarterback hits. Rams secured their first season series sweep against the 49ers since 2018. Dre Greenlaw returned for the first time since tearing his left Achilles tendon. He looked great in the first half, but barely played in the second half. And of course, that's when you needed Devondre Campbell to come in, and he refused to enter the game. He's now being cut. He will not play the final 3 games of the year. I wonder what that would have. I'm sure that would have been a change in the game because the Rams took over during that time when Greenlaw wasn't in and Campbell didn't want to go in. That's going to stick to Devondre Campbell for the rest of his life. So I hope he feels good about being a whiny little bitch because he's not the starter anymore. Because that's going to stick to him everywhere he goes. Jair Brown left in the second half with a groin injury. And then the question is, why would Trent Williams come back? He's not going to. So, no, I'd love to know if he will, but all signs are pointing that he's not coming back. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Passing offense 14th in the league, 22.6 yards per game. Their rushing offense 26th. They run for 101.4 yards per game. Red zone offense 12th. They score touchdowns 58.1% of the time. Their third down offense 14th. They convert 38.4% of the time. Their defense has been strong this year. Their Bubbarito in the house says if he wins this over 6 in Sharks Jets right now, he's putting it all on Miami money line. Yeah, they didn't cut him. They made sure that he couldn't sign with someone else, Jared. You're right. I used the wrong terminology there. The pass defense 8, 205 yards per game. Rush defense 8th. They allow 103.6 yards per game on the ground. Red zone defense 6th. They score touchdown, or they allow touchdowns just 50% of the time. Their third down defense 6th. They allow conversions 34.7% of the time. The Dolphins coming off an ugly 2012 loss at the Texans. Tunga Bailoa 29 and 40 for 196 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. He also lost a fumble. He struggled without Lamb and Tron Armstead. I mean, that was just his 2 starting tackles are gone. We have to keep an eye on the injury report tomorrow to see if they're going to be gone again. Malik Washington finished with 5 catches for 52 yards because Jalen Waddle sustained a knee injury in the second quarter and didn't return. Now, the knee injury sustained is not major, not surgery related. Would be, hard to imagine him in the lineup. And then Bradley Chubb was deemed questionable to play on the injury report Friday, and they ended up ruling him out. So wouldn't he come back here this week, and wouldn't that be a boost to this defense? But this line's moving towards the 49ers. This one is so tricky. Take it away for us here, Troy. Niners, Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. I mean, if this line was moving towards the Dolphins, I think it would be pretty easy. Maybe it still might be easy. Let's hear Troy's breakdown. Niners, Dolphins.
This is another spot in the pick 'em right price range late in the season where you have a bunch of 50-50 type of outcomes, especially between, -2 and +2. You really can't find a solid angle on either side historically in this market where it currently sits. Now, we're going to have a lot of movement. You never see, I don't think we're going to see this number close, Dolphins -1. I don't know exactly where it's going to close. And it's really hard what are we going to make of this game? I mean, Brock Purdy is going to be probably the most highly motivated player on the field because he's playing for his future, but he's absolutely struggling in his second year as a sophomore starting quarterback, like many other sophomore starting quarterbacks in the NFL this season. In the Miami offense, I mean, I feel like they've been downtrending. You see a lot of differences with what they're doing this season versus what they did last season under drug-ridden McDaniels. I think there's a little bit, something's incomplete, something's missing. Tua, after his injury, he's getting the ball out extremely quick, passing the ball way, his ADOT's way shorter than it has been historically. And I think this pick'em line is kind of perfectly fitting when you look at the matchup at face value. What's surprising me the most is that the Dolphins' inability to run the ball, especially when they play any type of good run defense. And what I seen from the 49ers last week gives me high hopes for this defense. If Greenlaw, Hufanga, if these guys are in the lineup. I mean, I feel like the 49ers, it's hard to want to back them, though, because how long has it been since they've been in this position, playing meaningless games in December? It's been probably years. I just don't know exactly what we're going to get out of them. It's hard we know that the motivation probably is going to lie in favor of the Dolphins. This is another game that it has to be a pass for me, Jim. Because, I need some market history that's going to give me I put my faith in the database for good reason, especially in spread ranges like this. But we need more information on line movement. And until then, I can't have a true opinion because I really feel like it's a true pick 'em.
And if Bradley Chubb comes back again, 30% of the plays he'll be in for. Is that a fair guess?
I would say, maybe less. Maybe less. How many third downs he'll be in? I would say probably less than 30%.
So when it comes down to it, you sort of get why the line's moving towards the Niners.
Absolutely.
Birdie, I probably should have mentioned Hurts has the broken finger on his non-throwing hand, but he had it all game last week too. So I don't know how much is bothering him. He was joking and making jokes about it and stuff like that. But okay, Niners Dolphins is tricky. Do you have any feel for this total?
True. No, I'm looking at 50-50 spread, 50-50 money line, 50-50 total right now in a 12-game sample, 6-6 across the boards. I open it up, it's 48-52, 48-52, 54. It's just not worth it. It's just, to me, it's not worth getting involved.
All right. That's a tough one. Nothing becomes illuminated through that breakdown. Niners, Dolphins. Again, thank God we have the Cappers contest show on Thursday where we can hammer it one more time. Let's roll on to the Sunday nighter. Can be seen right here live on Pub Sports Radio. 8:20 p.m. Eastern with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 8-6, 5-2 on the road. Dallas Cowboys 6-8, 1-6 at home. We're at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. We have this total now at 49. It opened up at 47.5. It moved to 49 on Sunday night around 10-12. That 49 started getting juiced to the over, and then it stopped. Started getting juiced to the under. So you see 48.5 market wide. Some of the 48.5s are slightly juiced to the under, and there's some very sharp offshores that have it at 48 as well. So it looks like it's kind of moving back down. On the spread, we have Tampa Bay right now at -4 with no VIG. They opened up -3, heavily juiced, -122. Got to -125, moved it to 4, opened up -102. At the 4, the initial move was towards Dallas. Dallas went from -110 to -117, and then it came back towards the Bucks. But right now we have the Bucks in no VIG situation, but a clear move, not only towards the over, but towards the Buccaneers. Take a look at the cash flow for our Sunday nighter. We have 71% of the tickets and 89% of the cash on the Buccaneers, and the line's moving towards them. You have 46% of the tickets and 65% of the cash on the under, which is a bit of a surprise as it has climbed up. Here we go. We'll start with the Buccaneers, who are 5-2 on the road this year. Dallas has, just that one victory at home this season. Passing offense for the Bucs, 4th in the league. Rushing offense, 4th in the league. Their offense just has been so much better than anyone could have really imagined. Red zone offense, 6th. They score touchdowns 65.5% of the time. Their third down offense, 3rd. They convert 48.3% of the time. Their passing defense been a problem all year, and they're dealing with injuries at the safety position. We'll go over those. 30th in the league. They allow 247.7 yards per game. Rush defense, 11th. Got Big Vita Vea in there. Rush defense, 11th. They allow 109.2 yards per game. Red zone defense, 10th. They allow touchdowns just 51.9% of the time, and their third down defense, 20th, allowing conversions 40.5% of the time. Buccaneers coming off a dominant 40-17 victory at the Chargers. They outgained the Bolts 506 to 206. Offense looked excellent. 7.6 yards per play, 10 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down. They allowed the Bucs to dominate. Time of possession 36-48 to 23-12. Baker Mayfield 22 of 27 for 288 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Mike Evans caught 9 for 159 and 2 touchdowns. Bucky Irving ran 15 times for 117 yards. Rashad White ran 15 times for 64 yards, caught 2 for 17 and a touchdown. He did lose a fumble. The only hiccup for the offense was they went 1 of 4 in the red zone, but the pressure was off them. The defense was excellent. Held the Chargers to 0 for 8 on 3rd and 4th down. And they did that despite playing without safeties Mike Edwards, Antoine Winfield, and linebacker KJ Britt. All 3 are listed as questionable this week. Pass rush was formidable, finishing with 3 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, and Jamal Dean had an interception. Talk about these Cowboys. Passing offense 12th, 229.1 yards per game. That's right on line to what Cooper Rush did last week, threw for 214 yards. And a career-high 3 touchdowns. Rushing offense, 27th, 99.8 yards per game. And this is being improved drastically. Rico Dowdle ran 25 times for 149 yards. He became the first undrafted running back to go for over 100 yards in 3 straight games since Arian Foster, the Houston Texans. Their red zone offense, 28, 47.5%. Their third down offense, 23rd, 36.3%. Their passing defense, their defense as a whole has been bad all year. Now, their third down defense has been very strong. They're 3rd in the league, allowing conversions 34.1% time, but they allowed 219.9 yards through the air a game. That's 21st. They allow 136.1 on the ground. That's 4th worst in the league. And they have the worst red zone defense in the NFL. They allow touchdowns 73.3% of the time. But they coming off a 30-14 victory at Carolina. They outgained the Panthers 410 to 235. Cooper Rush had a very strong game. He did fumble twice, though. He lost one of them. CeeDee Lamb caught 9 for 116, a touchdown. And they went 6-12 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. And the pass rush was an absolute force all day long. They sacked Bryce Young 6 times, hit him 10 times. That's the most sacks the Panthers allowed all year. Held the Panthers to just 3 of 11 on third down, 1 of 2 in the red zone. Mukwamu and Eric Kendrick each had interceptions. Chuma Adoga hurt his ankle in the second quarter, and TJ Bass left in the fourth quarter with a lower leg injury. They're both listed as questionable, and Trayvon Diggs has undergone surgery this week to repair the knee cartilage injury. His recovery is going to take 8 months. Take it away for us here, Troy. I know you have got action in this one. Buccaneers, Cowboys.
Yeah, last week I wanted to take the Chargers because we've seen Baker show a lot of signs of regression. I mean, he has a 6% turnover-worthy play rate the last 3 weeks. He's making pretty bad decisions, but he's also has complete ability to execute offense, distribute the football exactly how you would want to see a professional quarterback to do. He clearly presents himself as a starter for years to come, in my opinion. The biggest difference with this Bucs team year over year is their ability to generate line yards on the ground. From 30th to 16th per PFF, from 28th to 7th in run block win rate. Last year, they were absolutely dreadful. This year, they're generating line yards. They have the ability to run the ball, which makes them that much more dangerous because they do play at a fairly decent pace, too. And I've been backing this Cowboys team over the past 4 to 5 weeks. Now they come back home, and I think we're going to see a team that's probably, I think they're going to be a hungry team to win. I think they're still playing for McCarthy. It's really hard to say that, right? Because it's hard to talk about the Cowboys in a favorable fashion. After years of fading them, now I've been backing them, and I see them in a positive light. But the Bucs, we just seen them run the ball successfully against the Panthers. Well, now you got another bad defense against the run. The Bucs are 31st in run stop win rate. That surprised the shit out of me when I seen that metric today. Surprisingly, the Cowboys are 4th in run block win rate. That's surprised the hell out of me. And if you go back to week 8, it completely changed. I mean, this was a bottom 7, bottom 8 team in the NFL. Something's changed over the course of the past 8 weeks, and we just seen it against the Panthers. So you got the Bucs, the Saints, the Panthers that all fit that profile of cannot stop the run. And I think the Cowboys are also right in that same range. The Cowboys defensive line is a problem in most cases. However, Bucs, this offensive line, I talked about them generating line yards. Well, the top 5 in pass block rate per PFF and top 10 in pass block win rate. I see a case for both offenses to have success in a primetime situation. And so does the market, because I cannot find a trend. I cannot poke a hole in this over, especially at 48. I bet it at 48 minus 110, posted about it this morning. I'm thinking about taking alt lines because I see some huge numbers. Huge. I mean, 3 of the 6 games in this sample go over 60. I mean, you go back one more sample. I mean, you're looking at an average of 54 points in this game. So there's a lot of plus money to be had on the upside. But the only thing that kept me off that is one of the games in this sample is Bengals Cowboys, and we know how that resulted in the under. So I did move for over 48, but for right now, that's all I got. But I like it.
Were you close to backing the Cowboys?
I'm so spooked about this price range for home dogs. I just don't want nothing to do with it. I don't want to have regrets. Okay, after this, because my database would say that, I mean, I'll probably never be on a home dog between 3 and 6 for the rest of, unless we move through the 6. That's probably the only time you'll catch me on
them. Interesting. I think it makes a ton of sense. The over, I think it makes a ton of sense, and I could understand not wanting to trust the Cowboys in any situation, but their offense looks much stronger, and it's because Rico Dowdle is starting. If people have to show some concern at the running game, well, then of course it opens up the passing game. Troy on the over 48 minus 110. I get it. I think I'm going to join you on that for our Sunday nighter, which you can rock with us right here on Pub Sports Radio. Let's talk about the Monday nighter. Monday, December 23rd, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Cold at Lambeau Field, 27 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 7 mile per hour winds. Let's get into the line history. We have Green Bay minus 14 market wide. I'm looking at a 13.5. That's minus 119 towards the Packers, plus 106 on the Saints. This opened up as a pick 'em though. So we've seen 13 cents of movement on that number at 13.5. Let's get into the total here. This total is sitting at 42 at a pick 'em. That's exactly where it opened. We've had no movement at all on this total. Go to the cash. Cash-wise, 79% of the tickets and 94% of the cash is on the Green Bay Packers. That's alarming. 84% of the tickets and 93% cash on the over, and this line, again, is not moving. Start with the Saints. Passing offense, 20th in the league, 210.2 yards per game. I don't think it matters that much to go over these stats because Derek Carr is not coming back this season, and we're going to get Spencer Rattler, and I don't think we need to pay attention too much to the season-long stats with Carr quarterback. Their passing defense, 28th in the league. They allow 242.2 yards per game. Their rush defense, 27th, allowing 134.4. Both real problem areas. Red zone defense is being strong, though, 8th. They only allow touchdowns 51.2% of the time, and their third down defense, 13th. They allow conversions 37.3% of the time. Jim W. Putz is a dome team out of the playoffs. There's Green Bay and Lambeau in December. Green Bay 30, New Orleans 6. Ziggy Ball's got the Packers at minus 5.5. Wow. Nice look ahead there. Let's talk about the Saints coming off the 2019 loss at home to the Commanders. It came down to a failed 2-point conversion by the Saints with no time on the clock. Haener was 4-10 for 49 yards and 1 interception before being replaced by Rattler, who went 10-21 for 135 yards, touchdown, and no interceptions. Saints are now 0-4 without Derek Carr. He is concussed, but it's his left non-throwing hand that's all messed up. He's not going to be able to withstand contact for at least a few weeks, so he's not coming back. And Rattler is expected to start this week. Marquez Valdez-Scantling caught 2 passes for 64 yards. Kamara struggled on the ground, 5 carries for 12 yards, caught 4 for 58 and a touchdown. Kendra Miller led the ground game with 9 carries for 46 yards. He's done a nice job, returning kicks. So give him a chance to run the ball, returning punts, I should say. Saints were just 3 of 11 on third down. The defense held the Commanders to just 4.4 yards per play, but allowed them to go 10 of 18 on third and fourth down. Let the Commanders hold on to the ball for 40 minutes and 50 seconds. Pass rush was strong throughout. 8 sacks they put up. They're still trying, but will they be trying in 27 Fahrenheit in the cold? Kamara was checked for a groin injury in the fourth quarter. He did not return. We've got no update. McKinstry was also shoulder and neck issues. Both listed as questionable. And also, Darren Rizzi said that Olave isn't coming off the IR this week. They have not shut him down, but, it's his 3rd concussion in less than a year. It's his 2nd concussion of the season. And Rizzi says all options are on the table, but they're not going to bring him back at 27 Fahrenheit at Lambeau. Let's talk about these Packers. Passing offense, 11th, 231.1 yards per game. Rushing offense, 4th, 144.4. Red zone offense, 14th, 56.9% of the time. They score touchdown. Third down offense, 15th, 37.9% of the time they convert. Passing defense, 15th. Rush defense, 9th. The red zone defense, 20th. They allow touchdowns 60% of the time. Their third down defense, 8th, 35.7% of the time. To me, this is a really good football team. Football team is going to be a real tough out in the playoffs. In fact, there's very few teams that I think that can beat this Packers team. And I wonder if I'm just getting too high on them. But I just think they're a complete team. Packers coming off a dominant 30-13 victory at Seattle. Outgained the Seahawks 369-208. Jordan Love 20-27 for 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Christian Watson led receivers with 3 catches, 56 yards. Dubs had 3 catches for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was his first game back in the lineup after missing 2 games with concussion protocol. I remember when these young wide receivers were a problem, all the drops, now they just have a ton of talent. Josh Jacobs was a great pickup. 26 carries for 94 yards, touchdown, caught 4 for 42. He did lose a fumble. Offense 5 of 12 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush was a force all night. 7 sacks, 12 quarterback hits. Held the Seahawks to 3.7 yards per play, 4th, 13 on third down, 0-1 in the red zone. Edgerrin, Cooper, and Carrington Valentine each had interceptions. Quay Walker left in the first half, did not return. LaFleur says that Walker has a chance to be available. Jair Alexander inactive for a 4th straight game. So Alexander practiced in full Wednesday and Thursday last week. We kind of thought he would play, but it was LaFleur who made the call. He said that Alexander did not, based on what he observed throughout the week, did not look ready to go. So it was Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine that stepped up, until Alexander recovers fully from this PCL injury. Take it away for us, Troy, our Monday nighter, Saints Packers.
Yeah, I don't have much on this game. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with the side and the total, although there are going to be some rushing props for the Packers that I'm going to be looking at. I expect them to lead. I expect them to lead on the ground game against the Saints team and not feeling a real threat, which turns me off from a spread perspective. And here's just some interesting information that I look at when I see these big numbers. I look at spreads between 10 and 15. And I look in conference, out of conference, because there's huge splits. In conference, like we're looking at here, the road team 16 and 10 ATS, that's almost 62%. You flip that, right? You just toggle it to out of conference. The home team, 12 and 2 ATS, complete flip. You go from a road team catching 65% of the time to the home team catching 85% of the time. And when you see stuff like that, you have to imagine that it's going to regress, but it also makes you realize that the pricing for in division, out of division, in conference, out of conference definitely matters and something that we need to consider. I can't see the Saints having much success offensively or defensively. I think that they gave a great effort against the Commanders at home. A lot of things went their way. Jaden Daniels missed some passes that would have blown that game open at the end of the game. They were chasing 10 points around all game. Kind of flirting with this number right here pretty much all game long. I think it's going to be really tight I think the spreads are going to be really tight. I lean to the under, full game under, but I'm going to probably be looking in the prop market for unders or for rushing props for Green Bay. Receiving unders, rushing prop overs.
Huh, that's interesting. I can't imagine a situation where Spencer Rattler delivers in 27 Fahrenheit temperatures at Lambeau this late in the season against the Packers team that's, full steam ahead here. So I guess the under is a little appealing if we can trust the Saints defense to put maximum effort, which I think is a little nerve-wracking. But I can understand your thoughts here on that total. At this point, 84% of tickets, 93% of cash on the over. It's not moving a cent. That's probably speaking volumes.
With a low total, with a very low total.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Omer, though, liking the over here, says over and cover. Says you're not listening to me last 3 weeks. You're going to lose this one too. I'm not sure who he's referring to. I cashed the under in that Packers game very easily and live bet the under at 51.5. So I'm not sure.
Omer, I was on your guys. I was on the Packers this past week.
You were, yeah, -2. So I'm not. Maybe he's talking to somebody else here. A lot of you guys. I mean, it was wild to see cappers on the other. But I guess we understood they'd made so much money fading the teams who were off playing the Lions that they didn't think that the 10 or 11 day break
made a difference.
Would change things when it changed things drastically. But it's not only that, it's just that Lions aren't the scary team that's going to kick the shit out of you in the trenches anymore.
Yeah, because they used to have that both sides, offensively and defensively. They've actually been struggling to run the ball. And actually, Omer talking to chat makes me realize like something that we should be talking about is how the Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers turned up towards the end of last season. Mm-hmm. You've been kind of given a lot of favorable sentiment towards the Packers. I think this number also reflects the sentiment from the bookies. What about Packers futures?
I thought about them today. At 365 right now, they're 14-1. The problem is Eagles are the favorites now in the NFC. And, I got them at 6-1. I think I can probably make enough money just betting the Packers each week. But why wouldn't I want them at plus 800? You know what? I think I should throw a flyer on the Packers here.
It's saturated. I'm a fan by association just because I love my dad. That's the only reason I'm a fan. I want to see my dad a happy Chicago fan. Trust me, he is not.
Mel, I didn't tonight, but I did last night, of course, and I did bet $500 on them to go under 105.5 points. That was the best bet in the entire universe on Monday. There was no better bet in the sports gambling universe than taking the Capitals under 105.5 points. I mean, that's just Absolutely ludicrous. But this is a football show. Saints, Packers. I'm interested in that under. I'm interested in this under, and I'm interested in capping this game for longer. We'll talk about it on the cappers.
Can I go
contest.
back to something we talked about earlier, Seahawks, Vikings, because I find so much confluence with the total there that I moved on live here, Jim.
Yes. Touch on it, my man.
Yeah, Seahawks, Vikings under. I want to talk about both teams on the road and at home for the Seahawks. Seahawks is a home dog over the last 3 seasons, 8-2 to the under, 3-0 to the under if it's out of conference. Vikings as a road favorite the last 3 seasons, 10-3 to the under, 4-0 out of conference. The most recent results are the best results to the under and going under by margin. I think it's a great spot. You get the Vikings who've been at home, out of the dome, on the road. It's like I just feel like it's not going to click. The Seahawks defense is good versus mediocre quarterbacks. I feel like there's so much to like about the under, and neither team is playing at an extremely fast pace. It's just I feel like it's a good spot to take the under.
I like it. I like it a lot. And I hear exactly what you're saying, Birdie. I'm gonna spend some more time studying it, but I love it. And Birdie says problem is both lines and mini have tiebreakers over them. That's why I'm thinking, Birdie, that it might just be best to bet the Packers game by game as you go through here. But I love it. So let's review all action here. That's 16 games in 3 hours flat. Excellent work. A lot of fear that these 16 game cards would be 4-hour shows. We've done a good job there, Troy. Troy is on the Chargers -2.5, -115. He's on a Ravens money line Chargers +3.5, -118. I like the under in this football game on Thursday night, but I'm going to spend a little more time on it. When Mahomes is announced in the Texans-Chiefs game, I want the under. And if Carson Wentz is announced, I think I might move on the Chiefs. That's going to be the plan right now. NFL play of the day from Ron Crawford is Cleveland +7. Cleveland.
Oh, I don't like to hear that. I always have problems running into Ron Crawford.
Cleveland +7.
Just like I have problems betting any game that your dad bets on, Jim. I'm over. It's got to change Thursday night.
That's going to be so much fun. I love when my dad has action on these games. For Steelers, Ravens, Troy has the Ravens. He has Ravens double result and Ravens Eagles. Do you have Ravens alone on the spread, or did I write that wrong?
I do not. Okay. I have Ravens Eagles, Ravens double result, and I also have Ravens money line with the Chargers +3.5.
Okay, absolutely. Nothing saturated. Well, I mean, I do the same thing I do with my local. I only pay him out when he's over 500. I don't want him never to get up to, to get too much. So anytime he's up over 500, I just pay him out. But right now because he's lost 3 in a row. Lost 3 $300 bets in a row. So he's nowhere near that. I'm on the Ravens Eagles money line parlay. I'm going to add the Ravens double result here. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on it, but I'm going to add that. Then the under and the Falcons team total under. I'm going to spend more time with this Giants Falcons spot here with Penix as the starter. The Bears in the under. I need to spend more time there with the Lions and the Bears here. Then Troy is a Ravens Bengals money line parlay at -125. I've stayed off of that spot. I don't have that much action here, but I'm going to hammer the Colts tonight and the Colts double result. I'll pay for the -3 right now. I just don't find it. I just find it inconceivable. I know the Sharps are going to be on the Titans, and that's great, but I just don't see how this moves further. I'm going to be on the Jonathan Taylor rushing receiving here, maybe rushing as well. I got to study that a little more. I need to study this Rams-Jets game a little longer as well. Then we have Troy on Eagles, Ravens, Eagles -3, Commanders team total under 21.5. I'm on the Eagles, Ravens, and then I'm on the Eagles -3. Those were the only 2 bets I came into action with. Cardinals, Panthers, we have not moved. Troy on the under 42.5. Vikings, Seahawks. I want to join them on that one. Then Patriots and the over in the Patriots-Bills game. I'm very interested in that as well. Then Jaguars, Raiders. We stayed off that bum fight. Niners, Dolphins. no move there, but I'm very interested in it. Troy on the over 48 in Buccaneers, Dallas Cowboys. I'd like to join him on that one. And Troy, not yet. Or did you move on the Saints Packers under yet?
No, I have not moved on the under yet. And I probably will only be on props in that game, to be honest. At this point, that's where I'm at.
There you go. That is our show for Tuesday, December 17th, week 16 of the NFL. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us, man. We have nothing without you. Our guy, Spenny Penny Bombs. Yeah, man. That hurt last night, my man. Spenny, my guy. Saturated, Robert Martin, Cheshire Cat, Tacky JP, Mac Beavers, Dougie Wise, Jim W. Putt, Omer Gaudet. Thank you, Omer. Thank you all. Slatsy, Birdie, Jared TG, all of you guys. Thank you. Vincent Hawkins, Robert Martin, WT in the house, Jim Dewigger. Thank you guys so much, all of you guys. Truly, we have nothing without your support and your inspiration and everything that you do for us. Mel, Ziggy Balls, Aaron Gaza. Thank you guys. Nasty Nate in the house. Thank you guys. Thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, who works tirelessly behind the scenes. Troy, I love seeing you absolutely destroy as you've done lately. It shows so much character. That's what it does. It shows character to climb your way out of that hole, and you've done that with aplomb. Take us home, final words, and let's keep getting that cash. The battle, we're in the thick of it. We're just succeeding in the battle, but we certainly haven't won. We got to keep delivering.
You said it yesterday, man. I mean, I can't believe it's already week 16. It's blowing my mind. And
crazy.
I probably got, some sleep bags, some bags under my eyes. I've been grinding. I spend too much time looking at specific spots, and it's always about the bookies trying to figure out who they like in any given situation. And I think we've done that pretty damn well on this show. I appreciate you, Jim. Jose, I don't think I've ever called you out, man. Really, really thankful for what you do for the show and for everybody at Pub Sports Radio. It's a blessing to have you. It's a blessing to have everybody in the chat. Pub Sports Radio is the best damn community in the industry. Now let's go out there and let's get that fucking cash.